Welcome to the Image Critique Show with Jeff Johnson, Rick Avalos, and their special guest. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome to our 2025 season, our first show of the year. We've had such a this is already our third season. Can you believe it? Rick, I feel so much older because of it. I feel smarter because we've had some wonderful guests.
I was just going to say, we might feel older, but gosh, we got to feel wiser for all of the all of the guests that we've had over the last 3 years. And I've said it before, and gosh, I'll say it again. I think I learn much more than I ever impart on these episodes because there's so much great information and beautiful images, and they're really an inspiration. So many of them that I get to thinking, man, I got to try something like that. And that's what I really appreciate about this community that we have here.
Well, you know, for years, and I'm talking 20 years ago, there was Rick and Tom Henn and I were the three masters in the state association. Some of the other guys, the Don Emmerichs and those guys didn't come to the meetings anymore. So we were the guys entering in our masters category. And I'm not saying this to brag, but we got to actually say, okay, what category do you want to win next year, Rick? What category do you want to win? So we'd pick categories and submit. And literally it was like I'd get first, second, and third in illustrative, and Rick could get first, second, and third in portrait. Well, then all of a sudden, all you guys started getting good. And this is before we even started teaching it. But you guys started getting good. And now we look at all the stuff that's happening is that I'm be damned if I can get in the top 10 anymore. But I'm very, very excited and proud for you guys for that. So the quality. And the one thing I have to say is that now, since we're recording it, the Gias, and of course going into the World Cup, how many people are on the World Cup team? 15? 18? We got 3 of them online right here.
Yeah, the other person, can you show your video and put your hand up?
Yep. There's Ken waving.
Congratulations. So it's Dave's
Ken, waving.
Ellen.
And Ellen's waving.
Congratulations.
Isn't that the coolest thing? I mean, I'm not, I laugh. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that because we're taking credit for it. That's not what I mean at all. I'm just so proud of you guys. The 3 World Cup people on this website right now. And it's cool for me. I'm very flattered because we've been working with them and I know we've helped them along the way. So thank you for trusting us. But these guys' images are so incredible, and yet they're still tuning in to see what more we can share and what more information. That's the kind of world we're trying to build here. So thank you, all of you, but especially the 3 of you. Don't you agree, Rick? Isn't that the kind of the whole process we're trying to build here?
Absolutely. And you know, and whatever success has come from the Image Critique Show, in large part is to the credit of our members that are submitting images, and then the wonderful guests that we've had. You know, Kristy's joining that column of guests that we've had that have imparted such wonderful commentary and knowledge. It just makes me feel so cool because way back in the day, there weren't a whole lot of mentors or masters that were really free at giving away information. And
it was hidden secrets, wasn't it, for a long time?
Yeah. And then that trend started to go the pendulum, if you will, started to go the other direction, and there were more and more of the older masters that were free with their information. And so I guess what I'm saying is that we're just hopefully going full circle here in whatever we've learned that we can impart and in turn learn from all of our members that are tuning in and submitting images. And you know, it's just everyone benefits from it. That's just the bottom line.
You know, I was going to say real quick, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for the people that came in my life and mentored me.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'd be a photographer today.
Right.
Well, I can say, you know, both Rick and I, a lot of you guys know their stories. Both Rick and I grew up in the family businesses and had fathers who were not just photographers, but they were masters and they were instructors. They were PPA jurors. So, and at least I can say for myself, if my dad didn't have an answer, and he certainly didn't know everything, but if he didn't have an answer, he knew somebody that would have an answer. So we were very fortunate. I know I was to be able to have grown up in that environment. All we're trying to do with this is to turn that opportunity back around to a lot of folks who are starting out to give you not just what we know, because it's not that kind of a conceited thing. We try hard, but it's not that. It's about providing this opportunity, this environment for you guys to come in and learn. Hey, if I don't know the answers, I'm sure going to tell you some people who know. If Rick
Right.
doesn't have the answer, he's got a whole bunch of other names. I mean, Rick knows everybody, so I know most of them. He knows all of them. So that helps. So that's kind of why we're doing this whole process. So thank you. Hey, something else real quick. So we're moving right along. Let's see. So again, Ken, Ellen, Dave, phenomenal. I'm so proud of you guys. So excited for what you guys have accomplished this year. That's so cool. So keep it up. The other thing that the message that I want to put out, you guys are here, so you know this, but I just want to keep saying it because I've got 2 or 3 people I've been working with that they got their degree. Now they're done with competition. No, you've just made step one, right? There's so much more. I mean, I went back not too long ago, found my case. I got my master's degree on 25 print merits. I wouldn't want any of you guys to see those images. They wouldn't score 70 now. It's terrible. But that was just the first step. So I know you guys have been around for a while are going to agree. If you got your degree, that's just you're in the first rung of the ladder. So please keep doing this. Please keep helping. Please keep sharing. So share with people what we're doing here. A couple things come up in the future. We are working towards a membership of some great ideas. We've got a nice little board. We're putting together some folks who are going to help us create a membership and some further opportunities to not only learn but to give back as yourselves. Some possibilities. There are lots of great seminars coming up and such. Um, Another thing I want to share because we're talking image competition. There's two things. Right now, and I'm going to open up an email and tell you real quick. There is a competition site called, and some of you guys may know this, but it's called America's Favorite Photos. So americasfavoritephotos.com. I'm going to send you the link. Don't worry about it. I'll put it up here right now. You can go in there and sign up as either a viewer or a competitor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you, because there's a code that you can use. So here's the link. I'm going to put it in the chat box right now. So please go in and use this code. It gives us a little pat on the back. So the link is now, if you open your chat box, there's the America's Favorite Photos. So, but I'm telling you about it now because they have a competition every single month. And right now you got 4 days until the next one is closes. So it's not that serious. But first place is $1,000. And there's no entry fee. The greedy reason I want you to put your our code in there when you go to sign up is because when Ken or Ellen or Dave win the $1,000, we also get a big chunk of change. So that's why I want you to refer us, please. But it's some very amateur to very professional stuff, and there's usually get several thousand images a month, so it's just a cool thing. I'm also going to send out an email with another source for image competitions all over the world. At any one time, there could be 300 possible competitions going on from all costs. Some of them they're free, some of them are so much where you may have to spend 30, $40 one image. But if you win, you get your full gallery show in a gallery in London or Paris. So I mean, it's from one extreme to the other. So it's just giving us more opportunity to learn and such. So I'll send that out in an email. Again, watch for that link because we get a little feedback, a little kickback on that one too. So just more stuff to keep learning. And somebody's just now sending me more images, so we're gonna have enough for tonight. Okay, that's cool. All right, I've talked enough. Rick, you want to talk a little bit more and introduce our guest, and then we'll move on.
Yeah. Well, Kristy Steeves, such a pleasure having you here with us, Kristy. Kristy has quite a background in her career. Actually, a couple careers early on as in the journalism and media industry profession, uh, like a quarter of a century in that, right?
Yep.
And two Bachelor of Arts degrees. So, and just before we came on, Kristy says, yeah, neither one of them are helping me.
Yeah. They helped me with my previous career, but not with photography.
But anyway, Kristy, like so many of our other guests, the accolades that you have as far as your degrees, um, your accomplishments in competition, and now you're going to be kind of venturing off. You're an excellent portrait photographer, and you're wanting to get into some kind of wildlife photography now. I understand.
Yeah, that's my main focus now.
Good for you.
So there was a photographer from South Dakota that invited me to go to Antarctica with her. And I thought that's the last place I want to go. But long story short, I went. She's an award-winning wildlife photographer, and I thought, let's go. And
Hey.
I got, as she said, bit by the wildlife bug. So it's something I just absolutely love doing.
Yeah, great. Where could our viewers find you
In
online?
terms of my website or email
Yeah, yeah,
address,
yeah, your website, and because
well,
I
my
know.
website's my name, Kristy, Kristy, Steeves, Steeves, photography.com.
Okay, because I know
My website.
for the benefit of other organizations, you have quite a few different programs that you offer as well for conventions and the such.
Right. I think I have like 7 or 8 different programs that I can do. And I'm going to put you on the spot, Rick. I called him earlier and told him about a program that I could do for you guys like via Zoom that would tie in really well with this.
Well, I was just going to put you on the spot and ask you if you'd do something like that for us. So,
Absolutely. It's basically editing for image competition and clients.
okay,
Has everything that I have learned to do edit wise for image competition has elevated my client work.
sure.
Because you keep learning and learning and learning more editing techniques. I can make my clients look better and better and better and better, or up
Right.
my storytelling with them as well versus just
Absolutely.
just a regular head and shoulder shot. I'm really into storytelling
Yep.
at this point,
Very
and
cool.
yeah, so if you guys need me to assist on that, I would be more than happy to do that.
Well, that's one of the things I was speaking of earlier is that we're putting together a series of live Zoom programming, and we'll probably ask you to do something like that for us, and we'll talk about when, how, where, price, all those kind of things this another time. But thank you for saying you'd love to do this because I think all you guys listening in would love to come and listen to what you're doing. So we're going to work on some stuff that way. We've got a lot of other names of folks who are going to join us and do some cool stuff. Okay. So Kristy, thank you for being here. Thanks to that, Ricky.
Got it.
We got all our eggs in a row here, I think, right? I've got my image. You got,
Talk about tell them about the timer up in the corner, Jeff.
oh yeah, yeah, thank you. So I think that only happens when I get an image going. So there will be we're going to try and keep our conversation to about 5 minutes or less. Having said that, don't hold me to it, guys, because you know us. But we're there's gonna a timer's gonna show up, and you should be able to see that. So it's not the gospel if we hit something new, but
Yes, it is.
well, but here's the hard part. I just want to this, and this is why I want to say this. There are times an image will come up, and a lot of times it's whether it's a really good image, that there's not a whole lot more we can say to add to it other than, wow, that's great color. So we might not talk for 5 minutes on something. So please don't be mad if we only talk for 2 minutes and 30 seconds on your image. That's the only reason we haven't done it before. So we're gonna limit it because you know how we tend to get rolling a little bit too much. So that's what the timer you'll see is for. If we go over, if it's your image, good for you. But we're going to try and stick a little bit closer because we have 29 images now, and we're going to nobody send me anymore. Um, and yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So, all right. Any other questions, real quick? Anything I've forgotten that I can add? Rick, Cliff, Kristy, anybody?
Let's rock and roll.
All right, I'm going to steal the screen. All right, we are going to start with a image called A Box of Cubans. That's a great title. Kristy, dive right in. Tell us what you
Yeah,
think.
what a great storytelling title.
I figured you'd like that off
I
the
thought
bat.
it was going to be like a box of cigars coming up. So, if you can come up with a great title, look at the smile on my face. You know, what a nice surprise. And, you know, surprise leads to impact. So I really, really think that is a great title to get the viewer and or the judges, you know, attention. So I'm assuming the maker was in Cuba, you know, when they photographed this image.
Right.
Yeah. So I think the lighting works really well on these guys. You got some serious, some showing their personalities, the guy in the middle smiling. If this is something that you're thinking of putting into image competition, here's my first thought is the guy in the middle really should be somebody like on the camera right, the top or the bottom, somebody who's looking directly at the viewer, dead set in the middle. Have them look right at the viewer. Maybe mix those around just a little bit.
Like maybe this guy be in the middle more than
Yes, or the guy at the bottom. See how he's looking?
right. Yeah, you go ahead
Uh,
and use your pen there
I'm
if you
gonna
got it.
let me click on the pen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, like this guy here. Can you see my purple?
Yes,
Really highlight it.
that's right. I got a tiny pen here.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah, or this guy that's circled up there with the green too. You know, put them dead center in the middle where they're looking right at the viewer. And then some other things that I consider is I'm going to circle here, camera left, the guy at the top. This guy really should be coming over here to the right. Have him look in to the image, you know, in towards everybody else instead of him looking outside the frame.
So
So
like
it
you
might,
maybe put this guy on the right side, and then this guy,
yes,
maybe this guy over on the left side because he's looking and just things like that.
yes,
Good point.
yes. You know, maybe getting the middle guys more looking straight on and then everybody looking in towards them.
Ricky, what do you want to add to this?
I think those comments were excellently made. Just one thing that I would want to kind of address is the uh, technical side of it. Notice on the top left, really great black and white quality, good contrast, but the image immediately below is just a little flat. Maybe if we can, you know, work to where the contrast levels and are pretty much even throughout. I understand, you know, we have different lighting situations on all of the images, but still we want to you know, have that good contrast and snap, especially this one, you know, that I'm circling here, uh, just to bring those levels up so that all of the images are more consistent.
Yeah, and this guy's got really dark skin, so we're not talking about the density of the skin. This is a really bright skin, but just that they have kind of, I hate to say correct, but more contrast levels that are, that emulate each other. Kind of like this guy's kind of a flat face. Maybe this contrast can be changed a little bit, but I think those are the things the judges are going to look for as far as quality of each image. Because you realize you're entering 9 images here, even though it's in one piece. It's going to be looked at as 9 different portraits to make sure that they're all good, kind of a thing. I had a question, but I left me now. So, anything else, guys, or I'll move on.
I think it's a great title.
Yeah, it is.
Title.
Well, and we talk about that every week too. And Kristy, I know you'll jump into this one, but titling is such a huge part of this whole competition, especially because if we were to just say 9 faces, there's no interest there. We can see that. It's obvious. We don't need to state the obvious. It's when you can come up with the story and like this title, A Box of Cubans, how apropos that is. That's cool. So that's the kind of stuff we're looking for as a judge is to be hit in the face. Now, on the other hand, you don't want to go too far. There's some titling we see where people have gone so far into some distant romantic novel from Italy from the 1800s that the rest of the world isn't going to understand. So don't go that far with your descriptions. But being creative and being descriptive is great. But there's kind of a barrier there. If you get a judge going, huh, you've lost points.
Or the announcer can't pronounce it.
Oh, that's a good one right there. And I've been in that position when I've been announcing it, and I have to go. Can somebody read this for me? Okay,
Right.
this is called A Touch of Dawn. Christy, we'll let you jump into it.
Yeah, wow. I'm just taking this in and enjoying the scene. Absolutely beautiful. It makes me feel like I'm down like in New Orleans, with like this mossy look. I think it's beautiful. You know, the light is going right onto this tree, which to me is the main subject. So I think the maker, nailed it there. It just draws my eye right into that beautiful tree. One thing that jumped out at me though, right at the beginning, is the presentation. And as probably many of you know, that is one of the 12 elements of a mirror image. If this is for image competition, yellows are a big attention getter. And I would personally stay away from doing like a yellow map because it's drawing my eye out, or it's competing with this beautiful tree going on. I would probably recommend cropping off the bottom a little bit. Um, with the grass down there going really out of focus. I think if there was a crop just above, yep, you can even come down just a little bit more, just above, yep, right about there.
Out
Go,
of, out of focus. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
you want to get those little grasses out, but yeah, something right around there. More focus is on the tree as well, because I do know there are some judges that will, pick on something in the foreground being out of focus. So that just kind of alleviates, that issue right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just say one thing real quick about the colors is that it's easy to do a color coordinated um, mat like this. And that's correct. I don't think there's a word correct. Yes, it works. Color coordinated, I think, is important, but I would stick for something more subtle, maybe in the darker browns of a tree trunk down here, something like that. And the key line is there because they needs to be, but you could take that key line and drop the opacity, put it on its own layer, drop that opacity to 20%, and you'll have just enough to fulfill the rule without it being it'll help, but it's not going to be this pretty bright yellow stripe that's going on there.
Can I jump in about that?
Yeah, please. No, excellent.
Okay, so here's something that I have learned, and I do it almost every single time I do a presentation now. So can you see my cursor that I'm moving around?
Um, Grab your pen tool and try and color.
Okay, so yeah, let me just see what I can do here.
Because I see
So
your name, but
instead of having the key line right on the inside, because sometimes,
oh,
especially with an image like this, when you've got all these different colors, you don't want your key line blending in, which it's not, because the maker made it really bright. There are judges that will pick on this because it's bright, pulls the eye out. What I do is I'm going to use my pen, and I change my pen, I think, to red.
yeah,
I
just
take
something
it
better.
and let me start over. I'm going to make a little sliver right. My pen's too thick. Let me just try to make it a thinner pen. Let's see if that works. So, yeah,
Make
I
sure you
make a
go
little,
pick a brighter, Chrissy, pick a brighter color like the bright yellow or the bright blue on your color tab because the dark red isn't showing against the
there we
brown.
go.
Yeah, there you go. There you
So
go.
I'm going to move over here to the left. What I do is I do not put a key line on the inside. I create a little sliver of the mat right here, no key line. Then my key line is here and your mat continues. So this way you can make a darker key line all the way around and it's uniform, but just teeny tiny little sliver of a mat. And you can get around having to do something really bright like that. Did that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And actually, the next image coming up has just that. You can refer back to that when we get to that one. So, Rick, you want to add anything else to this?
No, my only thought was the cropping because that horizon line is darn close to the center. If we crop up from the bottom, it drops that horizon line a little lower. But yeah,
I might even go in and while this is obviously blue water, I might tone this blue down just a little bit because it's getting just almost to the point where it's questionable as far as reality. I will boost my colors quite often in an image, especially something colorful like this. But you got to be careful with the blues because you can get those to be too brilliant, too jewel tones, and it's not going to work that well. So the water's fine, but you could take just the tone out. I love the color tones in the trees, even on both sides in the reflection. But just that amount of bright blue, if it was, don't go too far, leave it blue because it's a good contrast, color tone contrast between the oranges and the blue, but maybe toning this down because it is asking for attention when it's this. But I love the tones up here. It's soft, the tree stands out, the reflection's nice, crop like this. Good job. This is called Between Realms.
Oh, wow.
There's the stroke you were talking about. So there's your following through
Yes.
there.
Yeah, and it works well like this too, but I'll just add you can even make it smaller on the inside if you want. That's the
Closer?
nice. Yeah, even like right in here. You can put just there's nothing wrong with this one, but I was just showing for the purposes of the previous image.
Right.
You can just have a little sliver and then put your key line there too. But this works really well, for this. So you can make them real thin. You can make them thicker. Sometimes you can put double lines in there. I'm very careful though with the double lines. My motto for image competition is less is more, simple is better. Um, when you get a lot of stuff in there, it's just more that the judges can pick on. I think the lighting on this, the light direction, the maker got a really great time of day, enjoying the pastel look, of the water. And I'm not sure if this is like the pinks that are going on in here. You guys might be able to jump in. I don't know if there's a little bit of a color shift going on in the water, but I'm seeing, like
Down
some,
here.
yeah, coming in, but even up at the top. Just be careful with that. You can even take like your what hue and saturation and click on red and take the slider down so the water's just a little bit more blue. I'm just seeing a lot of pinks. It could be a reflection from a sunrise, sunset, but you just don't want to judge questioning like I'm seeing a lot of pinks throughout here, and is there some kind of an issue going on? Um, and this is just purely subjective. I know we're looking at this on Zoom as well, so I think
Yeah, true.
the quality is not as good on Zoom. So I want to preface it with that because I might be seeing something that's not there in the original image. I like how the maker, is putting this lone bird, by itself. I would personally crop in more and make it a little bit more of a panoramic, because you have so much space going on. It's hard to see the bird. And then I'm assuming Jeff is going to kind of bring this in. Yep. Uh, yeah, I would, yeah, even more. I would actually bring camera left that in more towards the back of the bird, something like that. And then I would flip it. And if we flip it, I'm going to explain why that we flip it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're getting the bird a little bit more into the rule of thirds. But if we flip it, and it's not do or die what I'm saying. I know in the past, years ago, when we judged, I would 100% say flip it. Now, because of the World Cup, um, judges have been instructed not to be so strict about having the negative space leading in,
Right.
because with the World Cup, and I'm sure the three World Cup people on here will understand, is that you're competing with other countries. In our country, our brains are trained to read from left to right.
Right.
But in
Correct.
other countries, it's the complete opposite. So reading from left to right, you've got this negative space, this, yep. So what's happening is our brains are coming in from the left and going into the back of the bird. Whereas if we flip it, our eyes are naturally skimming across from camera left into the face of the bird if we flip.
I'm trying.
Okay.
This is what happens sometimes to me is that it gets caught up in, well, there we go.
Yeah.
It's caught up in a mode and I can't change it. So
Yeah. Our brains in, the Western culture are more trained to see images more like this coming in, and the negative space is great coming into the front of the bird. I told you guys I talk a lot. You
no, you're
guys can
fine.
jump in. I'll be quiet.
No, you're fine. How about now? I just cropped it quickly, but let's go back to the uncropped version. Um, I'm a, this is where it gets this hangs up on me a
I
lot.
would actually crop it even more,
Oh,
especially at the
more?
bottom.
So
Yeah.
what, okay, my question was going to be, would you put the bird lower or higher?
No, I would bring it lower.
Or like that?
Yeah, you could do something like that. But now my eye is more on the bird. My eye comes in from left, right to the bird. Um, you still
Or
get the feeling like the bird is out there by itself. I took the whole 5 minutes. Oh my gosh.
You're the guest of honor. You
that's
should.
okay. No, that's fine. They've heard us before. But that's the whole, and again, we're recording this, remember, so that they can go back and listen to it, pick out stuff on it. But no, I agree with all you're saying. I mean, no, we're not going to come along and say you're wrong. Well, we might, but
You
no.
can.
No, all you're saying is good. And that's what happens a lot of times in the show is that our guest might go through and say all the things that Rick and I are already thinking, and there's no reason to repeat it. And this is one of those I was talking about earlier. This is, and I'm not sure I understand this, so I don't want to butcher it. Um, Coptic Christian at the pharmacy window, or is it Coptic? I don't know if it's just one of those words that come on, open there. If it's just one of those words I don't understand, but that's what I was talking about earlier, entitling, if you make it where if the person reading the title has trouble with it, you're taking attention away from the story. If a judge looks and goes, "Yeah, I'm not sure what the message is here," we're judging it on the image, but the title, the story that we're laying out for the judges is very important. Chris, do you want to add to that one?
Yeah, well, since we're talking about titles, I'm sitting here, I'm fixated on the title, trying to figure it out,
Yeah,
and
which
not the
you're stuck
image.
on, right? Isn't that's what
Yeah.
happens? We get stuck on it, so
And
we're
then I'm
not
sitting
looking at
here
the image.
going, I don't understand what's going on in the image because I
Yeah.
don't understand the title. And there again, the first word, the announcer didn't know, how to pronounce it. So I think it's really important in setting up, um, an easy title that really sets up a story. I've heard people say, some names from some other countries that nobody even knows where it is, and
Yeah.
we can't, and it can't be pronounced. It's not doing the image a favor. I heard something about pharmacy. Is this a guy waiting at the pharmacy and he's everything's on back order and he's getting stressed out, or I don't know the story.
Well,
Um,
and that's kind of the laugh we've had for years is that we don't want to make the judges have to think too much. So don't give them a title that creates a story that they don't get or understand or something. It's got to be. But on the other hand, like I was saying earlier, saying close up of a man's eyes, that's not a good title either because we can see that. So your title being descriptive of what's happening is not also the best either. But just be careful. And it's a practice. It's something that some people are good at and some are not. Um, is to be able to work some stories into some words that are creative. And you know what, guys? Chat GPT, go into chat and ask it, say, here's my image, here's what I see. Can you give me 10 titles? And even say things like creative, artistic, just ask it. Do that. It's worth it. It'll give you some stuff we've never thought of.
right. This makes me think of something like the reportage category. And that somebody's out photographing a slice of life. Um, and there's not a lot you can do in the reportage other than brighten or darken. So, but if you can, up at the top of his head, camera left, there's something, blue. I don't know if it's the background.
This right
I would
here.
take that out
Okay,
depending on
sorry
the
again.
category that you might be entering it in, if you're allowed to.
Yeah, this
It's
right
drawing
here.
little things right along the border, the outside. The border of the images can become very distracting and pull your eye towards the border. So my eye keeps going to that little sliver, yeah, up there. And then camera right, it's really hot behind him, which is going to happen. Sometimes, when we're outdoors, it's hard to nail our exposures. If it's something where you can go in and, tone that down and darken it down,
Right.
uh, to keep my eye on his face, I think that would help.
Another
I
thing
try
too
not
is
to talk as much this time.
seriously, you're fine. I'm gonna go. Rick, do you want to add something to it? I'm gonna go into the crop tool and play and just because me. So another thing too is that just know that because this is the format the camera shoots, you do not have to submit it in that format. And sometimes to me that helps tell the story. So I'm looking at this thinking, well, we're gonna have the same story if we come in and make those eyes even more intense. The little bit of mouth showing pulls your eye away from it. So let's just crop that out right there. Maybe even pull it in, maybe like there. And let's cut down on some. You could crop into his ear a little bit. I think that's fine. So now you've got a story that's really intense in his eyes. You've still got the bars here, which I think your title is going to have to explain a little bit about what are these. Or in PPA competition, if you go into an illustrative or an open category, you can get rid of these bars. That's okay. Not the photojournalism category. So.
Or it could be something like, the stress of being caged in.
Yeah, there you go. That's a great story right there. That's a really good story.
And this gentleman, I'm assuming, great character, just really great character in the face and the eyes. I was thinking of not cropping down as much because that I'm seeing it as a tattoo on his forehead.
Okay, so leaving. Oh, I got to go back
That,
to Dylan.
that has to be part of the story in
This
one
right
way.
up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's why we do multiple judges to get that's why we do the multiple judges to get those different feedbacks and average scores. So that was our 5 minutes on that one. Anything else important we need to say, or should I move on? Cowgirl portrait. And I will say that, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but I don't know if this was supposed to be the title or if this was the file name, but this file just got sent to me recently. So make her sorry if it's a different title. Feel free to type it in the box there for us. But in a competition, titles are good. Rick, I'm going to let you jump into this one as a portrait. What do you think?
Yeah, first of all, really nice lighting coming in, from camera right. It just sculpts the mask of the face very, very nicely. In terms of the posture, maybe we'd want to see a little bit more of a turn of the hips, because you notice we have the head, the shoulders, and the chest down to the hips, kind of in the same direction. The only contraposture point of it is her eyes that are looking back. So, which is okay, but we want to be careful, in my opinion, that we don't see too much of the white of the eyes that I'm kind of seeing here. So
So you're
we could,
saying turn the face back to the camera, but leave the shoulders where they are?
yeah. And I mean, not much at all, because when you have them, a subject looking kind of out of the corner of their eyes, it has a very appealing, I don't know, coquettish look, if you want to call it that. But we want to be careful not to see too much of the whites of the eyes. Um, so, as far as the posturing of the hands, we could maybe open the hand so that the thumb comes behind the waist, so we're not seeing so much of the back of the hand. And
Right.
I don't know if it's toned down or the fall off of light, but the hands are, at least a good stop or better, darker, which, we do want to have the tonal value to where we're not drawn immediately down to the hands, because they really are secondary elements of the portrait, but not so dark that we lose detail. But I really do enjoy the lighting of the subject and what they've done with the
What do you think of that hand pose there, Rick? The back hand.
camera right or left.
Camera right.
Let's see, we got the thumb in the pocket. Let me
Looks
clear
like the thumb's probably in a belt loop or in the pocket, and then the folded
Yeah,
fingers
okay.
just makes it look.
In this case, might want to open the fingers so that we don't have the knuckles having that kind of amputated look.
It looks a little deformed, I think, is
Yeah.
what we're getting there because
Right. And then, we talk about it almost every show. Wow. I would say every show presentation, that we want to have some kind of a presentation to the image.
Kristy, what do you want to add?
Okay, I'm gonna hit the uh thingy that gets rid of the marks. So right here,
What kind of language is that? The thingy that gets rid of
the
the mark.
thingy, I didn't know what to call it, the trash,
Sorry.
to get rid of the drawing.
The trash can, yeah.
The
You're
thingy.
good. You're good.
So right here, do you guys see how it's like gone blotchy?
Yeah.
Like right in here. Okay, hang on, I'm gonna hit the thingy again so people can see the little trash thing there.
Here, let me
So
do this. Let me,
right in there, it's gone really blotchy.
I guess I can.
Right in this area, and it's gone muddy. So there's like not even any texture there. That's something that I'm gonna clear the trash can thingy again there. Okay, so that's something if you just like in Photoshop, take your clone tool and you can just kind of clone over this, create a new layer, clone over this area, lower the opacity. You might want to keep some shadow there, but it's going to get a little texture back in there. If you could brighten this area, just get those blotches off. That's something that a judge will pick on and to watch for. And then camera left right in here. This dark line, where it's cropped.
Yeah,
Jeff, I don't know if you want to try to crop in just a little bit.
sure.
It's that little sliver of darkness is drawing my eye over there. If that little line is just barely bringing the crop in, would you don't even have to go that far. Yeah, just to get that line off of there. Now my eye is not, being drawn, behind her. Little other things to watch for. If things get blotchy, like right there, little blotchiness, I would tone those down, just clone over it and lower the opacity to get a little bit more texture in there. I think that would help.
One other quick thing that I see in this, if I was sitting there judging it, is the first thing I noticed that, I know it's because of the elbow pose and all that, but her face is not that it has to be centered, but because she's past center looking back, it makes it feel like she's too close. I would say a little bit looser of a crop. You could maybe go out to get rid of that black line that Kristy was talking about. But if we had a little bit more room at the top, a little more room on the right, I think it would be a little bit more comfortable pose. When we have a pose that fills up, it's close to the top, it's close to her hands on the bottom, close to the elbows and the hands on both sides. It's very what's the word, Rick? It's not just tight, but it's almost God, what's the word I want to use? Intense. It's almost like we get like, oh, I want to relax a little bit more. So if we had just a little more room on the top and the sides, I think, and then maybe pose her face back this way just a little bit more.
Right. It might be creating a little tension.
Tension is the word I'm looking for. Thank you very much. I knew it was somewhere in there. Okay. Cross and dip.
Nice title.
This is the creative stuff that I'm talking about, is that we've put our judges' minds in a more exploratory kind of a point of view. So go ahead, Christine, can continue.
Yeah, unless you want to jump in.
No, okay. So I mean, this is just, we see birds, we see this kind of stuff, and a lot of beautiful, but this is such a different look at it. I mean, obviously, shooting into the ass end of an animal is usually not the priority, but this works real well. The fact the feet are crossed, I think, great capture by the maker. Having the reflection, even the bill being into the water, so it continues the reflection. Let me get my little pen here. Just this connection right here between the reflection and the real life, same with what's happening with the legs, really adds an abstract feel to it. I like that the whole bird is just a hair off center. We've got our horizon of water, or the horizon of the legs and the body coming into the water are a little bit above center. Just those kind of things give it a little bit more of a it makes it makes the viewer want to wander through the scene a little bit more, because, and this is another one of those contexts. I study a lot of European photographers, and dead center composition for whether it's a building on the lake or a tree in the snow or an animal is pretty common. And it's also gotten to be just the opposite for PPA competition, that putting something in the center quite often is not going to get a higher score. So this is there, but it's just a little bit off. So it gives us an opportunity to the birds looking this way. It's kind of looking down. So it gives us our eye a chance to find the bird, move around the scene, and come right back up to it.
Yeah, I think the lens selection was really a good choice because look at how well the background and the whole scene was rendered. Just really a great three-dimensional look. I'd love to see this, uh, you know, with the presentation, and curious to see how the maker would present it. But yeah, composition, I wouldn't want it any different. It's just everything's held together, nice and sharp. Like I say, the rendition of the background, even the foreground, with the lens selection was handled very well.
Jeff,
Yes.
can you take your crop tool and move it in slightly on the left? And I'm going to explain why.
Sure.
I'm going to right here. There's a line, a line. Go back so everybody can see it real quick. It almost to me looks a little unnatural. Right in those little areas, you've got some lines. I think if you
Just
bring
like
that
this much?
in, because it's drawing my eye and I keep fixating on it, which you don't want a viewer or a judge to do, or take those lines out.
Or if you want to do a Jeff Johnson crop, I'd go like this.
There you go. I love that.
Just another idea.
Yeah,
This,
because
if I'm
it's
not mistaken,
focused on the
and you don't have
bird.
to identify yourself, but I think this is another first time entrance into our thing here. So don't take it personally. We're just trying to show you some many different ideas.
Yep.
Because Rick might want to crop it like this and just show the ass end of the other. Never mind. We're gonna
But if you can go
how we
back where it
roll.
was, I was going to point out two little nitpicky things. Um, there's some little specular highlighty kind of like things here.
Oh, yeah.
I take those out with just like the remove tool or the spot healing tool. Little things like that, judges get caught up on too.
Gradations work great for those kind of areas because you get these highlights back in here and the highlights down here. Sometimes just a gradation that you can tone it down so it becomes more like the shadows, but isn't as obvious, is a great tool for that kind of thing. So
Yeah, just to take little distractions
yeah,
out.
don't take them out totally. If you took all this out totally,
No, I'm
you'd
just
have a
talking about
black.
this little spot
Right.
here
Yeah. Yeah.
and that little spot.
Early morning antics. And this is one of those, the first thing I'll say is, ooh, mood, full of mood, full of great story, full of these guys. Photographing these birds is tough if you've never done it because they move quickly. Otherwise, they just stand there, so it kind of doesn't look so cool. But this is a great piece, a great slice. When you're standing there at the edge of the swamp or the pond and there's thousands of these birds, your brain goes like, where do I shoot? Where do I shoot? I think this is a great little slice of that story. Having this with the golden color of the early morning sun coming through so you can see the breath from the bird. I think the matte color, you're getting close there. The texture is nice, maybe just a little tiny bit much. I don't mind it. Because like you get some textures. This area over here, I don't know why I'm not using my tool. Um, again, this is a little brighter area of the matte texture and some of these textures. Just I don't mind it, but I can hear judges just from experience saying, "Yeah, I'd take those out." So just watch that kind of stuff. The texture it's up in here is cool. Color tone overall is beautiful. Kristy, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, again, it goes back to my motto, simple is better, less is more. I usually just do plain presentations,
Right?
but I'm looking at this one going, this one works with the image. It just seems to kind of blend, with what's going on in the image.
Yeah,
So,
it's
but
not
yes, you
overpowering at all.
might get a judge that picks on it. I always just play it safe and go with the simple matte. But for me, I'm looking at going, this one works.
Yeah,
I could see that. Yeah. Um, something just to be careful of, and it's, time of day is, the
excuse me.
water or the sun reflecting off the water is really bright. So it is pulling my eye, away from the birds. Not sure if that's something that could be toned down. But right here, you've got a really like a bright hot spot that does not fit in with
Here.
what's going on. I circled it in the blue
Oh, there you go.
right
Between
there.
feathers and the bottom. I got
Yeah,
you.
and let me get off, let me hit that trash can thingy. So right in that area, it's really bright, and even under this bird's beak area, it just
Gotcha.
seems to be kind of brighter than like what's going on parallel to it. And
Well,
right in here, it's really bright, and right in here, almost like a little chromatic aberration going on right here. You know,
so
that got
what you're telling our maker is that it's because of those things, it's pulling the judge's eye away from the theme of the story.
yes. Yeah.
Because I mean, we can get nitpicky. Like there's a reflection off of the knee right here, just stuff like that. That, minor things, but it's those little kind of fine tuning that. And you were saying this earlier when we were first said hi to you in the show, is that when you start seeing those little things like you're talking about, again, they're not major, and for competition, they're more important, but you'll start seeing these things for your everyday work, and then your everyday work gets better because you're fine tuning it. Now, a customer isn't going to come back and say, "Hey, I don't like this bird image because of those lines," because they won't even notice it, but you catch those things and make it. And here's where this comes in. My line does it makes it more better. So now we can move on. Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the points are really valid that have been made. I'm just curious what it would look like if we um, took the contrast down a little bit more saturation. I understand the lighting conditions and what's going on.
All right, so let's take the contrast, flatten it out a little bit more. And when you said saturation, I'm going to go with that one too, because that might even be, I like the premise of it, but it might be just a little strong.
I guess where I'm going with that, and we brought this up before as well. You have the original image such as this that we're looking, and then playing around, duplicating it, and playing around with the controls and see where you want to take it, and or even converting it to black and white, and then doing a side by side, and just see how you feel about it.
Yeah, that's a great technique that we do is to do it the way you think you like it and then take another copy. And all you got to do is copy that layer. I'm sorry, copy the whole in Photoshop. You can just go to image and do duplicate, and it'll give you a whole new exact copy, and then just play with that one. You don't have to keep it, just play with it and see and compare. That's kind of the point that we're trying to make there. So this is 15 years after the flame,
Oh, now that title gives impact
doesn't
because
it?
it's not just saying, charred ground, and that doesn't tell me anything. There's been a fire. It's been 15 years.
It creates a
And
story, doesn't it?
yes. So I've got goosebumps.
That's
So,
what we want to
and
do.
Yeah.
impact is all about pulling emotion out of the viewer, and you just did that. I mean, I don't get goosebumps a lot, and it was like all of a sudden I just started tingling. So this is a
Yeah, good
stunning
job, Maker.
image,
Yeah.
great storytelling. I think they did a great job with the sky exposure. You've got the sun behind these charred remains of these trees, yet I'm seeing uh, the texture in the wood. I just think they got a great exposure. One of the things that I look at, I'm going to get kind of close. You guys are going to see my face up close and personal, is I move in because one of the things I look at with landscape is chromatic aberration. And that usually happens, some judges call it fringing. It's usually when it's something dark against something bright. And I'm not seeing it on here. There might be a little bit. Keep
You're
going
talking
to
about
the
the horizon line?
no, keep going to the right, right, right. Go past the right tree, right in there. So there might be a smidge right literally over the dark
That's what the
mountains.
show is for. I can go ahead and crop the. Now, judges don't ever look at it like this to judge,
We
so
don't look
don't
at it
worry
like that.
about
So do
that.
you see it's like a bluish,
Right
yeah,
there.
right in there. If
Right
you
there.
guys take your clone tool right next, so literally, let me get my clone tool would be right here. And then I just start cloning, and I literally will clone, and I zoom in really close. so I can just get all of that off
Okay.
because you're going to get a judge like me that zeroes in on that.
Yeah. I see it on the
But
top of the
that's
tree
really,
up here too.
yeah, that's the only thing that I have to say that I think, could be fixed, enhanced.
Whoops.
I just think this is a really awesome image.
Yeah. Trying to get back to Photoshop and it's doing that. About the middle of the show every time. It will not let me go back to Photoshop. Okay. All I was going to add to, I think the sun flares, which I'm usually not a fan of, was perfect for this because it talks about it really makes it feel like it's on fire, the flame. Um, the placement of the two trees and the sky, all that's just everything's working so well for you. I might have toned down the key line. Just now I'm in Photoshop. I swear to God. I might take the stroke and if it's a separate layer, drop it back to 50%. It's good, it's in the right place, but maybe just make it just a little bit less obvious, minor thing, but you got high contrast there, so no big deal. Um, what I will tell you from more of a technical standpoint, when you get this kind of an aberration, you have lens elements out of alignment. Your lens needs to be recalibrated. When it's white, when we've seen that happen, that's usually just the difference between changing the sky density, the darkness, brightness of the sky to the mountains in front of us. So if you get a white out border, that's a normal thing that happens in Photoshop. But when you get this color, a cyan or a magenta, I will tell you that you have a lens element out of alignment. So have that lens recalibrated. It can be fixed easily, like Kristy mentions, but you've got a little issue there that I would, sorry to say, get her fixed, get her done.
The storytelling point of this, storytelling is one of the 12 elements. Um, we're so engaged in scenics that are so beautiful and flowing, and the light is just excellent across uh, the buttes or the peaks or whatever. But from a storytelling point of view, this really draws emotions out of myself as a viewer, because when you're used to or expecting, I should say, to see something in nature that's so beautiful, but then you could see in nature how something horrible and ugly can be photographed and rendered in really an artistic way. And
Yeah,
as I
good
look
point.
at this image, I see great exposure,
Yep.
the bottom left to right.
Yeah, yeah,
Real quick, I circled this little spot. It looks like there might be a sensor spot, dust
yep,
spot.
yep.
If another judge sees that, it's not going to merit. Get it out.
Well, what happens in those situations, what I think is kind of interesting, it's just the way the team works. And you get a panel together of five judges. We're all trying to work together to give the best score possible to a maker. But what there's 10 eyes looking at an image, and eight of them miss that spot, and they maybe give it a score. All of a sudden, one judge says, "Yeah, this spot right here, this goes into, what is it, uh, excellence, techniques of excellence. What's the uh,
Technical excellence.
yeah, number four on the list. That's the kind of stuff that are like, you can't let that happen. Out of focus pictures, bad exposures. Those are the things that you can control. And if they are, you shouldn't enter. But something like this can be removed. But this may come up. Wow, 88, fantastic. And then one chick goes, yep, I just saw that spot. All of a sudden, you've dropped a category. I can promise you that. So just watch for. I will take my images when I'm almost done and I will go, 200, 300%. And don't worry about sharpness. And I'll just kind of thumb through it like this and see, like there's a white, and that's probably a white spot in the cloud right there, but I'd still get rid of that because it's raising a question to the judge. Sensor spot. And there's times where even I've taken out just a tiny bit of snow on a mountaintop. I'm not saying this is it, but I'm just using this as reference. Can be more distracting. Even though it's snow on the mountaintop, I would take it out. Um,
Or even right here, look at these little red spots right there.
right there.
Whoops, right there. As you zoomed in, I didn't see it until you zoomed in.
These guys
But
here.
right there, yeah.
Yeah.
It might be a reflection from the sun or something,
It's
but
probably a flare off the lens because here it is
yeah.
on the upper lip. Yeah. Yep. So just little stuff like that. And it sounds, we talk about this every week, every month. It sounds like we're being nitpicky, and okay, call it that. It's those little things that will make you that much better of a photographer by getting those out of there. That much you'll score higher, blah, blah, blah. I've said it.
Yeah, we're trying to save you from getting dinged by a judge.
Hey, you talk about a good image. Here's another one. Fire on the Cliff. This one is, come on, stunning.
Wow.
And when you get a judge to say that right off the bat, that's good news. Um,
Yeah. Is that real fire?
so are you familiar with the fire tail
Yeah. Oh, I've seen another
in
image
Yosemite?
similar
Yeah.
to, is it, oh, is it real fire?
No, it's water, but the sun is in the position to come down from the back and it backlights it. So it's we can have our maker when we're done here explain it, but it's called the, and I think Firetail, is that the story? Horsetail, Firetail. Anyways, it happens in February and the place Yosemite gets crowded, but there's some of the absolutely most gorgeous. I didn't think it was supposed to happen this year. I know who was there. Congratulations, Dee, for doing this. This is just stunning.
Yeah, that's
But it's
incredible.
actually waterfall that's being kind of uplit from the top with the end of the day sun. But look at the colors, look at the mountain, the rock color. I think in this case, a purple mat with a orange stroke would be what? What are you doing that for? Look at how beautiful it is. What an art piece.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. If we're gonna nitpick right here, I see a little white line that could be cleaned up. It's teeny tiny, but I see it.
Yep.
Um, another judge might see it and clean that up.
Yeah, I see it going right along there. And it may be something on the rock or not, but again, it goes back to if one judge sees it and brings it up in comment, it might not be a major score, but if you're in a category, well, any of the scoring the way they do it now, you may lose a whole category because of little things like that.
Right. And do you guys see down in the right corner? You might get a judge say, blocked up blacks. Some judges it might not bother, others it might.
Yeah, that's a PPA
So,
thing. Yeah, we've talked.
that might, I've had it happen to me.
Yeah.
So, that might be something that the maker wants to take care of as well. Better to get rid of it and score better. That's what I have to say.
Well, that's where it comes in. Let's make it more better. But when I go to my upbringing, my learnings of the zone system and those kind of things, there are blacks with no detail and whites with no detail. It's just how much of it do you use? Unfortunately, in the PPA world, yeah, thank you, Horsetail Falls. That's what I was trying to say, not correctly. The Firefall event. Okay, thanks, Ken. um, is having black or having white in an image is okay, but if it's too big, if it's pulling your eye, it becomes these black holes that the judges fall into and they don't know what to do, so it takes the score down. However, unfortunately, I've found in the PPA world, even a black hole like that, which I think is very natural and doesn't bother me at all, I would definitely change that because you'll get a judge to say something. Well, there's this black with no detail, and while it's true, I will just say, yeah, what about it? You might lose
Right,
points. So,
right.
right.
But I agree with you. It's kind of like, I think that's kind of how the judges in the PPA world are trained,
It
uh,
is. I
or
agree.
listening to each other and playing off of each other. Um, I'm trying to personally get away from that myself, as a judge and say, we're going to have shadows. We're going to have dark shadows. That's what light and dark is all about.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I'm just pointing that out because you might get somebody that picks on that.
This is called Follow the Leader.
Follow the leader. It looks like we have a wolf with maybe some kind of a rodent in it. I am trying to make sense of the title, Follow the Leader. I don't see any other wolves
Yeah, there's a
in there.
carcass right there they're ripping from. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oops. Sorry
I don't
again.
understand the title. But the crop is really nice. I think the exposure works well. I'm seeing texture in the snow, footprints in the snow, which works really well. My eye gets drawn, some of the sticks, the way the branches are, broken down. They're like leading me down into the subject. My main concern is right here. If you guys can you see my blue?
Yes.
Is this branch, the stick sticking up here. It's pulling my eye down. It's out of focus. There's another little spot here. I personally, if this was my image, I would get those out because they're creating kind of distractions and pulling my eye down. But I really love how all the branches are coming down towards, your subject there. That is
Right.
really awesome.
So I just got a text from that's the fun part about this thing, and is we're talking about how important titles are. If the title reader reads the right title, it's even more important. This is called Snack Time.
Huh.
Oh, okay. Well, then that title makes sense.
It
Yes.
that's how much titles work, doesn't it? So my apologies to the maker. Um, but it does tell the story a little differently because we're like follow the leader. I'm looking for where's the other animals that are following or should be following or something like that. So that would change the whole story totally. But yeah.
But that's an example right there, even though that wasn't the correct title, how it is important with titles.
Yeah.
Snack time, absolutely. Follow the leader. It's like, where's the other wolf?
That's what I was looking for. Ricky, give us your comments on the matte colors and stuff in that
Yes,
case.
exactly. I don't feel that this matte color is helping the image at all. Um, in addition to what was said, that Kristy mentioned about the branch in the foreground, and then up on the top left, we can either crop in or just take that out altogether. But to me, man, I would much prefer a more of a high key matte. Then that animal would really pop out.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think so too.
Yeah, I just matched the matte color with the snow and then dropped the key line in there. And then you've got something within that wolf that's just going to really stand out. Um,
I
so,
don't think it would hurt either to take out some of this twiggage, right?
oh,
Right.
a new word for the library, twiggage.
Twiggage.
Just to isolate that guy.
Oh, yeah, right around the animal. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I maybe would even. Oops, I don't have my tool.
Are you seeing my marker
Yes, yes,
above his back?
yeah, yeah, right here.
Yeah.
I might even take out this one. And I would go along too. I think I'd go along and all of this stuff is part of his carnage. But I'd maybe even take out this dark area here and these couple little guys here. Just clean it up a little bit so you've got more this little oh, coming in is nice little leading line into the wolf there. Um, I get rid of maybe some of these way in the distance shadows of twigs.
Yep.
Minor little things, but it's just going to clean it up a little bit more. I don't mind how many twigs are back here in some of these major things, but some of these other guys, this tells the story. This makes it remote, but cleaning up some of these other little things like we talked about. And again, I think if you went with a mat that matched this color and just have the stroke, that could be a winner right there, a wiener right.
Jeff, what do you think if we brought the crop up and got rid of some of the lower snow a
Well, let's
little bit?
just see.
Because I'm thinking if we could get in on the wolf a little bit more.
So I'm going to come in like
I'm thinking maybe we don't need as much snow down at the bottom.
I'm going to come in like this and just try
Yep, get
this
that
one.
one twig off.
Because that kind of puts him in
I
that.
personally really like that better. Now you've really got them in the rule of thirds.
Look at how everybody look at how quickly. And again, this is hard. We're
Wow.
not trying to say it's wrong, but look at how quickly the animal stands out when we go from
Yeah,
crop to crop.
big difference.
And again, if this mat was gray or snow color that didn't stand out, and there's the band, I think you've got something there that could be pretty cool. It
Yep.
is pretty cool. I'm not saying it's not, but this could make it that much. Say with me now, more better.
Yeah, that to me is a wow right there.
Yeah,
Wow. Because I
agreed.
can see the subject so much better.
You see how it's a little bit cleaner on the edge right up here, even though the weeds are close. I might
Yep.
even go in here and take out this stuff so that it was just a line, the snow went out, so this is kind of open, let the weeds kind of stay inside. Just to kind of clean that corner up a little, it makes it a little bit more comfortable, I guess is what we'll say. All right, let's move along. We're doing well. Golden hour in bloom. And oops, sorry, my bad. This is another wowzer one.
It is.
I'll get it up there. Look at that. That is just absolutely.
Does the maker know that when you enter image competition not to have your logo in the far right corner?
Yeah, they do know that. It's just one of those
Okay.
things. I know this was kind of a last minute thing, so in this case, it doesn't really matter. But that's a good point to say is don't sign it and send it to competition. Matter of fact, if it's I'm not correct, will they not be disqualified?
They will be
Yeah,
disqualified.
before they're even judged. Yeah, so just know that. Just
I really like how the mountaintop is lit up
yeah,
and you got
perfect
that
timing.
orangey color to make it stand out from all the blues and the greens and everything. It's just drawing my eye, I think, right where the maker wants me to go. Don't you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It has a lot of beautiful color. This, matter of fact, the little things like what I like about this is this line of the flowers is even kind of a scoop, kind of a.
Oh, yeah.
It just
Down
makes it that much softer to come into. We come into all these flowers and we don't hit a brick wall, so to speak, here. So we got all these
the
flowers.
natural, yeah.
The pasture just gives us that lead in, and then this beautiful row of trees. And the mountain being peaked obviously gives us that's our focal point, but this allows us to come into the scene and enjoy everything, follow the lines of the mountain. Then we have this secondary peak that's that um, repetitive compositional elements. So we kind of have a triangle going on. We have another triangle over here. So it makes the viewer feel more comfortable. And it allows them to look at this one because it's the bright one. It allows us to look over that because it's the same shape. It invites us, but we go back to it because it's um, brighter. And the clouds, look at the clouds. Holy cow.
Yeah. My eye is being drawn right here. And especially because it's really bright right there, that little spot.
Yep.
So that's something that I would recommend being somehow clone over trees over it or get rid of that spot or darken that area down just a little bit. Because everything else in this, my eye just flows beautifully, but then all of a sudden gets stuck,
Yeah.
right in that area.
So there's other areas that I circled too. Same ideas. I would just take those out.
Real quick, one other little
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, please.
very, very minor, but like if this was my image, I'm going over it with a fine-tooth comb, looking for stuff like, what's going to draw my eye. A lot of times I will flip my image upside down. I look away from my screen, so my brain kind of adjusts to something else. I come back and I see right where my eye goes. Um, and if your eyes like, go into these little areas, yeah, definitely get them out. This is minor right down here. Whoops, at the border. We'll
Sorry.
come back to that. We can come back. Let me clear all that. Yeah, my eye comes right in here. And then I might be going the opposite of Jeff. Jeff was saying he comes in this way. Well, it's upside down, so maybe that's why. Um, yeah, because I remember when this came up, my eye was just going right up here. When it was flipped, my eye went right here, and that's where you want it to go when you flip it, because you're going to see where the eye is going first, and my eye went right there.
Right.
And I do that with my portraits as well, with people.
It's a great tool, isn't it, to do?
Yeah, I want my eye to go to the subject's face, with human portraits or with animals. So
Right.
a lot of times before I enter an image in competition, I flip it. And if my eye's drawn somewhere else, I go in and darken it or, do what I got to do to get the eye right to the face. But it works really great in this case too with this mountain ridge because bam, my eye went right there.
Well, it throws your brain for a loop for a second. It's like if those of you who've used view cameras, you realize that this is what happens. It also brings up a few things. I wouldn't do a whole lot to the sky, but when we do this, I see these areas that are just asking for a little bit of attention that I go in. Nothing else. I mean, you don't need to go in and start doing all this, every little, but just because these areas are kind of surrounded by more solid tone or color, I would maybe blend these little areas in terms of just taking it away from a judge's thing. And again, guys, remember, we're talking competition. We're not talking about client work. We're not talking about hanging it in a gallery. But I've heard stories of people will put something in there and then you'll hear comments about, so why is there outline on the mountain or just stuff like that. So this kind of stuff, this kind of conversation will help you just be a little bit more fine-tuned with your images.
Cliff, you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you.
The only problem we've had with Cliff now for a couple of years is he just constantly talks on and on and on, and we have to shut him up.
You're
Hey,
keeping us on track. Good job.
but you heard tonight I brought my band along.
Yeah,
Yes,
that
which
is
is
really cool.
awesome.
Once I figured out what it was, it's really cool. Hey, this is called Good Catch.
And Jeff, you're good with the wildlife. You want to take it?
Sure. First of all, this from doing wildlife, this is a toughie because you get the birds move so fast, especially when they're fishing, especially when they catch something and they catch it and then they kind of toss it up in the air and then try and swallow it. So, I mean, this is a phenomenal capture in those terms, even having some of the drops of the water coming back down, the splash in the water from where the fish came from. Just really, really cool capture. Um, Good sharp image, nice colors, seems real true to the bird. But I think you've got good detail in the light tones of the bird, and there's nice detail in the dark feathers. Underbelly gets darker, which is fine, but there's still just enough detail to not let it be that dark hole that Rick was talking about. This is a phenomenal capture. Now we get in talking more into the art perspective, the art part of it, and I'm just throwing some ideas out there. Would you kind of you two other my fellow jurors here? Um, is the bird too tight, too much, too big in the scene? Would you like to see more room? Maybe a longer, and again, my preference is something like this. I would give it more of a longer horizontal feel. The tail to the end of the edge of the image is kind of close, but maybe expand the or recrop or whatever. That's kind of the question I pose to you. Rick, what do you think?
Definitely, in my opinion, I just feel it's a little crowded we have such a beautiful area to work in. Why not see a little bit more of the environment? Because it- there's so much impact in what you said as far as the detail of the feathers, the motion with the drops. So there's impact in the image itself, and I don't think it would be diminished at all if we backed up. If you have it on the file, if we backed up a little bit and gave the guy a little room to do his thing in.
Yeah, I agree. I think I personally like the crop camera right close to the tail feathers.
Okay.
There's still a little space. I think a little breathing room camera left would be nice. Make it a little bit like more horizontal panoramic, you know, not too much, but I think just a little bit more breathing room. The only thing, if this was my image,
I am so sorry.
oops, there's one little thing. You don't have to do it. It's not do or die. I don't think a judge is going to pick on it. But this little branch right there, because it's kind of going, oh, I lost my brush. Wait, hang on. Let me see if I can get my brush back. This little branch right there, remove tool, spot healing
Oh,
tool.
yeah.
I think just because it's going horizontal and breaking the lines of the other branches, um, that might be something you might want to just take out, right there.
Right,
And
right,
maybe right here, this little reflection area there as
right.
well. They're minor. I don't even know if anybody would pick on it, but you never know.
Well, that's
And
what I was saying before, is it's little things like that. What caught my eye is this little area back here that is, again, it's nature, it's part of it, but it's just because it's kind of got a rectangle shape there. Sorry, it's just what we do, but it looks like an outlet on the wall. And all it takes is one judge to make a comment about that way, and you can't, it's like, there's a yellow balloon in the room. Can you see it? Boom, you'll never not see it, right? So that's kind of what we're doing, is to try and take some of those things. Those darn judges, what do they know, right?
Right.
Take those things away from them before they catch it. Now, does that make it a better fine art print? No. Does that make it's going to sell better in a gallery? Absolutely not. The layman isn't going to see those kind of things unless they're real obvious. If this was a really bright spot, but we're just getting fine tuning so that it makes your image, say it with me now, more better. Gray Ghost Hunter.
Oh, wow.
And that's what we want to hear from the judges.
Wow. Yeah. I'm just going to
well,
talk.
yeah, well, my problem is it isn't a real profile, and isn't a real two-third view of the face. I'm kidding.
I was going to say, does that matter?
I was like, I really like it. What am
Yeah,
I seeing wrong?
now we don't go in and add and put scores on this, but I can tell you that if this came up in a real panel, with 5 series people. No, I would have this a very high score.
And
Crazy.
I'm not normally a fan, you've got a darker bird against, the pure white. But I think in this case it really works and it makes the bird just pop and get that wow factor
And
in
here's
there. I just think the maker did a great job with this.
yeah. And here's the interesting thing. The previous image, I personally felt it was a little crowded in the frame. And this one, well, it's almost filling the frame for me is so appropriate because it really creates that tension.
Right, right.
Because this is a what a bird of prey. I mean, these owls. So it just creates that intensity and tension that I
Right.
think makes it work well.
Yeah.
And
And
I
I
think
like
the
how she
background makes a big difference there. If this was flying against the trees and the water and stuff like that, but flying against this sky. And this is one thing, and I did have a little conversation with the maker about this one. Okay, white background, what sky? What are the judges going to say? And I'm glad to hear you guys talk about that, especially Kristy, talking about the white being okay in this case because the matte presentation makes it okay on this whole thing. What's the blue arc for?
I like that. So the capture, we've got this arc going on, with this owl, and then the placement right along, if you had this bullseye and all the space around it, it would not have the same impact. The fact that you've got this arc, it's almost like this bird fits right into the corner
Yeah,
of,
it does.
the border, the presentation. And I think that works really well in this case. Can you zoom in?
Sure.
Because I'm looking at the beak and I just want to make sure you guys tell me. I almost feel like, and I could be wrong here, it almost feels like a little cutoff right in
Right here.
this area here. To me, it may not, that could be the natural thing. But if for some reason there was something going on and,
Well, I don't know. If you look at it, it's kind of a
oh,
cutoff,
there's the
but
beak. Yeah,
there's some
there's the
little
beak.
hairs, feathers, and there's a little
Yep,
beak
yep,
right there.
yep,
So
yep, yep.
I do see what you're saying. So as a juror, as a judge, I mean, it's something this spectacular, but if you look at the edges like the wings, there's movement here and there's movement here. Does that bother you? I mean, obviously the bird's in flight, but
It's gonna, a judge is gonna pick on that
I
because
know, I know,
I had something similar where, the main part of my bird was tack sharp, but
right?
I had some movement and it got picked on and all the judges, jumped on board with it. I just think it's the panel that you get.
Yeah. Nothing you
Some
can do
judges are
about
fine
that,
with it
but
because
yeah.
it's movement. Others are going to say that should have been tack sharp too.
And just for your information, Christy, in our world, it's called tack on sharp.
Oh,
That's an
is
old
that
joke.
your term? Is that
It's
a
an old joke. It
Colorado
was a friend
term?
of ours that used to, everything was tack on
Tack
sharp.
on
Back
sharp. I'll try to
on.
remember that.
Anyways, absolutely stunning
Yeah,
image.
that is stunning.
Um, okay, some good storytelling here. It's a little bit longer of a title, so let me see if I get it right. Havana Hustle, Youth, Streets, and Survival. What an awesome story, though. Ricky, jump into this one. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Um, let's just start with the title. Uh, I think it's a little wordy. I think we can get excuse me. We can get the story across, the point across with fewer words because there's a lot of intensity in this image. Um, I I see it as more of a reportage
Right.
type of image that really tells a great story. Because as I'm looking at the individuals, in what they're doing, how their body is postured, and I don't mean postured by the photographer. I mean they have their own individual personalities that are being uh, exhibited here, and then the guy with the cart just almost oblivious to what's going on between the other two here. Uh, if you want to say that there's something going on, certainly she has his attention.
I think he's got something going on. She may not.
Yeah, right. Right. And then, technically, I think it's well done as far as a black and white. image, the presentation is handled well. If it is in the reportage, there's not a whole lot of editing that we can do with it, but I don't know that a lot is necessary.
Right. Yeah, I don't think so either. Kristy, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say even Havana Hustle, but to have, I think it was youth survival and what
Youth
was
street. Yeah, I was just going to say youth, so Havana hustle, youth, streets, and survival. I kind of think we can lose the Havana hustle part of it.
see, and to me, I know they're young people, so it's like, my motto, and I learned this early on when I started entering a competition, don't state the obvious.
Right.
And if you can come up with, I like Havana Hustle because now you're telling me where it is,
True.
but you're leaving it up to the viewer to fill in the blanks. And when the viewer starts using their imagination and filling in a story, you've got them engaged.
Well,
Uh, the,
it's the three bears story. We all know that story, but all you got to do is mention one little factor and everybody knows and makes their own story out of it. Yeah.
yeah. And you get people engaged that way, in an image. If this, let's say you do the reportage, um, I think you're allowed to dodge and burn,
Right.
correct?
Right.
I would tone down because I don't think you can take anything out.
No.
But if it's the reportage, those white spots on that door, if you, because my eye keeps getting drawn over there, that would be about the only thing that I would recommend
Okay.
playing around with is just toning those down so the eye doesn't get drawn over there.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the presentation? Do you like the gray? I personally would probably go a little darker. I feel like it's blending in. And if it goes a little darker gray, I think it would make the image pop. That's my opinion.
Yeah, good call. It could go a little darker. That's always because I like to think of myself as being a more of a black and white fine art photographer. I would want to see it to go more of a white or a light gray as in more of that fine art presentation, but I think it might then start asking for too much attention. So doing what you're saying, taking it from here, maybe going just a little deeper, maybe even into the tone of the wall above the door right here could be. But I was laughing because anytime you submit a mat that's in the blacks or the whites or the grays, there's going to be a judge that said, "I'd take this to more black," and the next competition, I might go lighter on this and white. So I don't think there's a right answer for this.
No,
I think,
I agree. I
yeah,
agree. And a good friend of ours, I learned this from him. Man, it just opened my eyes to when we put let's talk about a high key mat that we were gonna. Okay, we've got this white mat 100%. Let's take it down 10%. Especially if you have a high key subject, because then it doesn't overpower subject inside. Similarly, with a black mat, taking it down 10% so that the blacks in the image don't look grayish or
yeah. Life below zero.
man, that is cool.
Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
yeah.
Talk about it.
That is just so cool. Um, no pun intended. Um,
Yeah, it
I
is.
would
In
only
this show, yeah,
suggest
it is.
That is so
maybe,
chill.
maybe, up on the top left corner, just to eliminate or to minimize those contrast areas, top right corner. Because man, this is just it's very striking, and I like, we've got a strong diagonal with that snowdrift or whatever that the bison is near. I think the placement is handled very, very well from what I'm seeing here. Nice sharpness. I like the cool bluish hue of the image because it really does.
Makes it cold. Makes it feel
Yeah,
cold.
yeah, man.
It's
Uh,
the areas I just circled real quick. If you can see the green, would you get rid of those?
I would, I would, because that goes along with what I was talking about up
Yeah.
in the top right, top
It
left.
just kind of pulls your eye off that way unnecessarily.
That is really nice.
It's keeping in that ooh, burr, freezing tones.
Yeah. Yeah.
It blends in really nicely with what's going on in the scene.
Minor little thing for what it's worth, Maker. I wouldn't go any farther out with your key line. I think this is fine. I will also say that I don't object to this, but there's a difference in width between the image and the key line. The top and bottom are narrower than the sides. There's no rule against it. But I can promise you a judge will say something about it, so you're probably safer keeping them equal
Yes,
around thing.
yes.
But just be careful. The top actually is good, but the bottom, the problem is it's an optical illusion, an elliptical conclusion. Is if when the key line, this is becoming a trend, the key line starts coming out this far, you all of a sudden now have two obvious halves, not necessarily in the middle, but you've got two larger pieces that pulls the eye. So the key line is just supposed to be supportive. So this spacing is great, everybody.
The one little thing for me, and
Yeah.
it ties in, like with what Rick was circling, like, these branches and stuff. This one coming now, and I'm talking the lighter wood, not the whole tree, because it's brighter. My eye keeps, and it's intersecting with the bison
Oh, good call.
right in there. Just darken that down.
Yeah,
Try
don't
to make
remove it,
it.
just darken it.
I would just darken it.
Gotcha.
You can remove it, but I would, or just darken it to try to blend in with the darkness, the color of the rest of the tree.
Yeah, good point. Because it does just kind of uh-oh, here I have to say it, Rick. Juxtaposition. It's another one of the words that we laugh at. Because it's the same color and it's crossing into that, you got a horizontal almost diagonal and a vertical. It's asking for attention. So if even just this tone of the tree were darker, like she said, I think that's little things like that will score add another point to
And
this.
I really enjoy this title. The title set this up, but they said it in a different way.
Yeah, how would you say it? Life below zero? How would you change that?
Life Below Zero. I just think the way the maker came up with that title just set this up so well, the story.
We're gonna have this maker. I'm just saying this now, but we should have this maker do a little workshop for us on titling because there's been a couple of other images that have come up that are just phenomenal titles. So
There you go.
yeah, we got somebody who can do that stuff. Looking for a meal. Again, wow.
Yep, that's another wow.
I like the color harmony in this one because we do have color in the bird, true colors, but they're very subtle, very soft, very limited hues in a mid-tone range, but it just really has it stands out. The separation here from the beak is perfect, and it just lets the reflection be a very minor thing. Where this bird is out here hunting in this big big desert of nothingness. It's almost, I mean, this kind of goes into a painting, doesn't it? Kind of,
Yeah, I was sitting here thinking, wow. And then I thought, this looks like a painting to me. And it's
yeah.
probably not, but it looks like it.
Well, that was
Can you
always the thing
do
that
a Jeff Johnson crop on this one?
okay, what would you like?
Your special crop. That's a
Oh,
little more
I
vertical.
got you. Okay.
That's what I'm kind of thinking. And now you're really in on the bird. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like it.
Yeah, and I would not cut down on the because I was almost going to come down even like this way, but no.
Mm-mm.
No.
Matter of fact, I would even extend the canvas that much more. I don't know. Kind of puts the eye more towards the rule of thirds there, but for whatever that's worth. Yeah, I like this crop. That's
Yeah, I like that.
a good call.
So I'm going to throw out something. The maker does not have to do this because it depends, if you're going to put it in, if there's just like in your state a wildlife and you can't do much to it, don't listen to me. But if like going to MIR and because they're the wildlife illustrative, you can do more to it. Um, if this was my image, okay, and I clarify that this is what I would do,
Right.
but just because what I would do doesn't make it right for you, okay? I would try to brighten the face and the beak a little bit. The wing, even if, like the light is probably coming straight down, I will always go in and try to, especially the eye. I want my eye to go to the subject's face first. And I think if you brighten it just a little bit, I think that will make the face pop just a little bit more. I think that would be huge for me, as if I was
Right,
judging.
right. Yeah, so just this area just be just a little bit brighter. Maybe you could even do the
I would do the
I would even
whole,
maybe
yep,
do the neck and the head and the beak a little bit more and then brighten the eye just a tiny bit more and let the body stay at this density.
yep. And that way it stays consistent.
That's cool.
Yeah.
At the risk of really confusing our members, our viewers, this is one of those images where I wouldn't want to see a presentation. I think just the way it is.
See, now it's good. Okay.
Or
Um,
just a small key line and stick with the same color mat.
yeah. So you're saying just for competition's sake, just maybe add the border, but make this a very light gray key line and let it go at that, Rick? Is that what you're
Yeah.
suggesting? Yeah. Very nicely done.
Yeah, that's a wow.
Actually, I'm just seeing this as I'm seeing it, just like a full bleed. It wouldn't
Um,
bother.
so, so let me, because I know you can do that for the Gias and the World Cup stuff. We'll allow it at, it's not wrong, it's not bad.
You
We'll
could
allow
do,
it in
yeah, you can
Colorado.
do this plain for IPC.
Right, you can this way. They won't. I mean, just me because
And you know what? At some point, um, I guess it de depends on where you are in your journey with the competition and this and that.
yeah, yeah.
Why why play safe all the time?
So we have one simply titled Luna.
And I was thinking, I hope the moon comes up with that title. They've got
Um,
some great detail in here.
isn't that amazing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the color tones that happen on an almost full moon, sometime the different moons, I think is the violets that happen in the shadows and the craters, and then the little bits of
That's such a gutsy. I like the square. Always, I've always enjoyed a
right.
circular within a square presentation, but have that stark black background and then a fine art type presentation. Um, what do you guys think about a black and white conversion?
Of course, every image comes up, I think that, but let's go take a look and see. But we'll just play and see. So it gives us, I think it because of the colors that we're seeing, that makes that other image. But let me just play with the sliders here to maybe bring back some of the contrast. See, we can take it flatter, or we can give it just a little more punch. And let's give it a little more brightness. I don't know.
I like the color.
I kind of I, I shouldn't say this because we're recording this, but I kind of like the color better. I
Mm,
don't want anybody
I
to
do.
think
You know why? It's different.
that's
We
exactly it.
see a lot of moons that are black and white. By adding that color, it's like when it came up, I'm like, wow. I usually think of, moon black, white, and gray. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, there's color in the moon. Cool.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little too tight with the crop. You're talking moon and outer space. I would like to see more outer space
But don't
around
you
it.
think that gives it some of the punch, though?
It could. That's just my take on it. Just a little bit more breathing room.
Right.
But that's me. You know, every time, every image that gets looked at, we all bring our own perspectives,
Yeah.
our life experiences.
that's exactly right, Christy, and that's why I like to say everyone is entitled to their own ridiculous opinion.
Right. And mine could be ridiculous. But I just felt like even just a little bit more breathing room, but that's me. And I know you guys are going to go against what I probably have to say. I personally don't care for the bright matte at all for this image, maybe because there's so much black in there. That's one way to get a little negative space in there too, is
Black
a
mat
dark
instead. Yeah.
black presentation.
I was kind of wondering that myself, that if maybe a black mat with a very, very fine, very soft gray pinstripe might
Yep.
might make it. But the maker just put it, I don't know if you saw it in the chat box, the whole purpose was to push out those colors that are so subtle. And I think you've done a great job on it. So I kind of like the fact that it is, because we see so many pictures of the moon that are full space, and then there's the moon. I like this that it's in our face, and I kind of wonder if maybe, and Ken, you'll have to tell me if you've tried a black matte, but I think I'm kind of thinking of black matte. So it just basically wanders off from the color of space, and then just that very light gray key line might be, I don't know. You'll have to let me know if you try that or not to see, but otherwise, cool beans.
So did you see I circled this one little crater?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, just
I
the
would take that down just a little bit, darken it down just a little bit.
well, you see the lunar module landed. Never mind.
Oh, if that was a lunar module, I'd say something else. But I just think that crater is really bright, especially in a shadow area, and maybe tone that down just a little bit. My eye is going over there
It is asking for
and
attention.
locking in
Don't
on
take
that.
it out. Yeah, don't take it out. Just bring it down like these craters back in here have just a little bit of guts, like this one right in here.
Yeah,
Just
I
take
would
it
bring
there.
it
But
down
that for
just.
that brighter spot, even that little guy, I know it's just highlights of a mountain on the moon, but it catches my eye. Um, but the maker just said they'll try a darker matte. Yeah, I'm just curious to see what we may be wrong on that too, but just try darker matte, see what you think. Reflections of a coastal dream. If Jeff can hit the right button, there we go.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, a lot of times for me, when I see images like this of the landscape or something, I mean, if it gives me a feeling that I'm standing right there, then that's a high score in my book. It's got the real feel to it. Look at the beautiful color tones, handled so well, not letting the grasses, the weeds in the foreground, leaving the color but not making them too bright. The reflection in the water is very realistic. The sky is toned and just nice enough. I like that it's lighter through here. It really resembles the sky, the sun. It's at about the sunset, about to drop behind the clouds. So it's a very realistic, almost a flare instead of a bad exposure kind of thing. Um, Minor little thing, I maybe would eliminate this little bright spot of light right here. It's picking up the sky, or it's picking up that part of the sky right there. I'd maybe get rid of that little guy.
I agree with that.
And then here's another question that I get a lot of times with people, my clients, when there's somebody walking on the beach, and I'm guessing that's what that is. I don't know what that is. Something that small, I would take out of there because it serves as to me more of a distraction than a story. Now, so if there was a couple standing right here holding hands in the sunset, yeah, go for it, cool. But this pulls my eye over and say, okay, what's that? And then same with this little bright spot over here, minor things. What else did I see here? There's even a little bright spot down here at the mat edge.
And one right here.
Yeah, just little things like that. If it pulls your eye and there's no story there, you're just wasting the judge's time, and you'll lose a point or two.
And there's one right there too that I was gonna point out.
Yeah, just little things like that. Again, they're really minor, and you think, what the heck? If it's hanging on the wall, if it's a 40 by 60 hanging on the wall of an art gallery, you'll never notice it. You'll never see it. You'll never worry about it. But again, we're talking the really fine tooth comb that judges use to go through an image to give it a score or not. Rick, what's your thoughts?
A family group of five.
I was waiting for that one. Oh my gosh, have you guys heard the story that Rico had to take all my landscapes and use them as backgrounds for his families?
Can I use some too, please?
Yeah. Oh, that's too funny, but it's true. They'd fit there perfectly with me. I might also go in and just the shadow area on the water reflection. Use the highlights and shadows uh, tool in Photoshop and just bring us back a tiniest bit of detail there because it's starting to become a larger area with shadows. I mean, we're right on the edge of it, but just to go in and see if I can even pull it up simply enough here. Um, so it's in adjustments, highlights and shadows, and we're just going to pull up it's just like even that much. It lightened the whole image, but that's not what I'm after. I would just even brush it. So I'm only at like 4, but it just brings enough little bit of detail in the shadow areas that doesn't make it look like let me turn it off. Here's before. I didn't say okay. That was dumb. So you can see it's really minor, but it's those little things that if a judge's mind goes over there and says, "Oh, I wonder if there's no detail. Wish there was detail." Yeah, I just saw that too. Go ahead.
Does the to me, but I don't know if it's the angle, the horizon line looks a little tipped.
I think it is if you look at let me just clear there. Yeah. I think look at the shoreline, the clouds. It looks like it's
Yep.
just a little bit tipped, or even if it feels a little tipped for competition, I would just clockwise rotate that just to make it straight.
Just a
So
little
a
bit.
judge doesn't do what we just did there. Matte color, you guys good with that?
I am.
I don't have a problem with it.
Key line is perfect. It's maybe it could go a little brighter, being picky, but
Smidge, yeah.
if it was the same color, I mean the key line, if it was the same color as the sky, too much. That's right on. Sacrifice and consolation. Again, another excellent story.
Yeah, I think the maker came up with a great title. You know, they're telling us, this person, they're not tired, right, and just resting. There's a sacrifice that's made, and then there's somebody there consoling them. So they're helping the viewer understand what's going on. I think with the fireworks in the background, wow.
That
I don't
really
know,
helps
maybe
the
this is
story.
during, like Memorial Day or something when people remember, lost loved ones.
Right.
So, the maker has done a great job with, playing on my heartstrings right now.
Which is worth a few points, don't you think? With a different
Yes,
judge? Yeah.
storytelling and the impact.
Storytelling, yeah.
Yeah, storytelling, exactly.
I like the composition. I like the way that the subjects, up in this top right third area, and then we've got these diagonals from what appears to be steps, I guess, that
Yeah,
are leading up to them. Um, I do have a little bit of concern with the key line. We've talked about this before. I feel that there are two types of key lines, attached and detached. I think the color of the key line is okay, in my opinion, but I would rather see it detached from the image because we lose it up here on the top where it's the same tonal, excuse
right.
me, tonal value as the image. So you want to see the key line all the way around.
And
So that
it
that
seems like a
that
minor thing, but we've heard that from judges so many times that just detach it by a tiny bit and it'll be fine.
so yeah, that might be one where they create that little sliver of a dark matte and then put the key line
Exactly. Yeah,
a little bit more on the outside of it.
exactly. And was
One little, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say one little thing for me, just because it's up near the border, these two, and I know we have them down below here, but those two right there, I keep getting drawn up, probably because it's near the border and it's just drawing my eye up there. If this is reported, you have to leave it alone.
Right.
You can't remove it, but if it's not, you can maybe take those two out.
I might even get rid of the whole this whole line here too, just to let the fireworks kind of stop as more of a whole figure. Minor point, but if you can. I was going to refer to, we were talking about highlights and shadows and the zone system and all that before. This is a perfect example of we have a full silhouette of this person down here and some of the other person, and it's great. Down in here, we've got, like in this right area over here, we've got some blacks, no detail. We've got that absolutely fine. Not pulling your eye. They're not too big to ask for attention. I think they work well as to letting the story just disappear off into this whole feel. The trees are, I think, fantastic because you've got just little bits of spots coming through the sky so you can determine that it's a tree and leaves, so it's not just one big bush or something like that. So this is the kind of stuff that I'm just pointing out to everybody that is okay. Um, Again, we got no detail in the subject, which I think is fine. It's a silhouette. But having these areas of darkness, because there is just a little bits of outline of the trees here or the distance or whatever, there's a little bit of a bush outline right here. Just so subtle that if this was all black, then you'd have that big black hole. But the way this is set up, nicely done. And this might be one you guys will have to tell me if I have the wrong title in this one, because I think it's just Shadows. Maker, you'll have to tell me if I goofed in this one, but this is called Shadows. Rick,
You
what do you
know
think,
what?
man?
This is going to catch a lot of negative heck, I think, from a lot of judges. I love
I was going to say the same thing. I love it too.
it.
What a story.
Oh man. Um, I've had the opportunity to visit with some young photographers here in the community, and um, we go through a lot of different things, but I encourage them to look into the book or get the book, One Mind's Eye from Arnold Newman.
Yeah.
And man, there's so much story to this image. You talked about earlier, the zone system and the deep blacks and everything. Uh, this just it's theatrical, it's dramatic, it's moody, just provokes uh, the viewer to look into the image and understand it compositionally. Excuse me, compositionally, we've got the secondary element on top, uh, the primary subject there, and then what I like to call diagonally opposed composition that is just so strong, and I wouldn't expect to see any kind of detail in the dark areas because, this is pretty much a spotlight and it's illuminating what needs to be illuminated and a natural fall off here. Uh, it's a very haunting image and a lot of applications are possible for this image.
Let me throw one thing in here real quick, and then Kristy, I'll let you talk about it. The title, and I'm sorry, Maker. This is just I'll use this. I'll slap your hand. No, I'll make this as a point. When you send us pictures, put your title as the name of the file. Period. You don't need to add your name or anything like that. But so I just was reading the name of the file. The title is Defiant Contemplation. Does that not make that even deeper with what you just said, Rick?
Yep, sure
Defiant
does.
Contemplation. Absolutely beautiful. Now, Kristy, go ahead.
Okay, you got your crop tool.
Sure. What would you like?
Crop in from the left. We just have it goes so dark and there's so much space there. I don't feel like it adds much. Like right about there, we'd want to leave a little bit.
Yeah.
But now we're more on, the side of the building and this young woman. If you come in a little bit on the right, you get her back in the rule of thirds. If you bring that in, well, she's already in the rule of thirds, but maybe even just something like that. Because there's so much dark all around. I think cutting out the negative space, the dark negative space, just to me, that's bam right there. It's just pulling me in where I need to go.
That's a new t-shirt for us. That's BAM.
Bam! I think that's taken by that chef. Wasn't there a chef that
Does
used to
somebody
say
say that
bam?
already? Who?
There was a chef that used to say bam.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if this would like go into the reportage category or portrait. If it goes, well, you can even do this, what I'm about to do in the reportage is right here. If that could be toned down just a little bit to be more
Sure.
like in line with this, because it's another distraction pulling me away, from this area and her.
What do you feel
That
about these though?
that could be toned down.
Would you get rid of do anything with these?
Here, let me get these little lines off so I can see it. Yeah, I actually would. I just held my fingers up over it and I would because yeah, it's drawing the eye down. If I wouldn't get rid of them, you still want to see them, but maybe if they're darkened down just a little bit, then the eye is really, on this girl and the side of this building instead of being, pulled down here and pulled down to right here.
Right.
That's my thought.
I kind of look at it because I first held my hand up and when I cropped it and looked at that. And I think when those are gone, we've got too much black on this
Yeah,
third of the image. So I like it. What it does to me is it allows me to go from the face, like Rick talked about, back to the light. And then it lets me wander down here to see what's going on, but they're dark enough that I go right back up. So maybe toning these down just a hair, maybe
just a
even more
little
into
bit.
this density right here. Snowy stare. Christy, what do you think?
Well, I'm fixating on the title.
Good or
Um,
bad?
the image is awesome, like right in your face. And the fact that you've got this fox looking right at you, it's got impact. By snowy stare, to me, the maker is stating the obvious. We see that there's snow and it's staring. What if something just like pensive,
Yeah.
or frigid frigid something or other, or um, but I just think Snowy Stare is not telling me a story. Is this guy about to pounce, on a mouse, on an animal? Maybe some telling me what maybe the fox is doing or what the fox is about to do would give it more of a story. But yeah, the exposure is really good. Um, I mean, beautiful lighting on the fox. I'm sure the maker was just delighted.
Yeah.
The fox is looking directly at them, right at the camera. It's like, wow. I think the crop is good. I don't think I'd want to see any more snow, because it's so bright. I think they left just enough there to tell me, it's out in ankle deep or knee deep snow. There's a lot of snow there. The depth of field, shallow depth of field is really nice, makes this critter pop right off the page.
Yeah, the eyes really the whole face, but the eyes really just jump right out at you because of the depth of field and the composition. So yeah, this is where I was talking about. Like, take that title and Snowy Stare and plug it into Chat GPT and ask it to give you 10 different titles with that kind of a theme and see what you get. I bet you'll come up with some cool stuff.
And
Rick,
then I think, I mean, I think the color of the presentation works,
yeah.
but maybe going with instead of a yellow, because a yellow's attention getter will draw the eye out, maybe like a lighter blue from the background.
Yeah, good point. Because the color coordinated is great, but it's not always the best. If that stroke was just a matter of fact, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take and create the stroke and then assign it the color of the background and then just move my slider over to just take it and make it a lighter version or a darker version
Exactly.
in the same tone range. Rick, what do you want to add to this?
Um, I don't know. I was just playing around with the crop. As tack sharp as this is, and all of the elements. I don't know. I was thinking maybe coming in and almost, you know, concentrating a little bit more on the head and the face. Um, you know, the title, we're talking about titles. First thing that comes to my mind is Predator.
So you want to see it a little bit tighter like this, maybe?
I'm sorry.
No,
Let's
he's talking a Jeff Johnson crop.
almost a square to the head or the face. Let me get rid of my.
Jeff Johnson crop. I'm making a mark on somebody here.
You are. Anytime I crop like that now, it's going to be called a Jeff Johnson crop.
So something more like this, Rick?
I don't know. Yeah, something.
Try it and see how it looks. Wow.
It is
Because
powerful.
his hind end, just as well as it was photographed and rendered, just didn't add to the.
I think that gave it a lot of impact cropping in.
And then I would even go in and lighten the eyes just a tiny bit more to give them almost that ghostly kind of a feel. What do you think of that?
Make them blue.
I like them in color.
Okay. Well, that's why we have multiple judges, right? So here's the full piece. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great capture of this fox showing the whole thing. But for competition, we're looking for the judges to do what Christy's been doing all night. Wow.
Yeah, I think that just, Ricky nailed it.
Yeah, good call, Ricky, because it does definitely bring you in to his eyes, even or her, I don't know. And little things like too, I know it's snowing and stuff, so we can see it on the back of the coat, but maybe that one little guy right there, I'd probably this little guy, they're just enough to, I know it's bright and it's against a darker background, but maybe I would eliminate those just to not make them pull your eye out there. But and then I would go in and I would just lighten the color of the eyes just ever so slight, so they have it almost gets to be a ghostly kind of a spooky kind of a feels because what you're doing is you're pulling that viewer in just wow, look at that kind of a thing. But that's cool stuff right
I'm
there.
going to play off of what you just talked about.
What's that?
Oops. So, you know how when we do portrait work in the studio, we create that half moon
Oh, sure. Yeah.
opposite. I almost think if you could brighten the catch light just a little bit, catch lights bring life to the eyes.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And if you brighten the catch lights and then just create the half moon and brighten that area, that is going to make those eyes pop so much more.
And that would make sense because the reflection off the snow is going to create that. So
Yep.
it's not you're not adding something that's not there. But yeah, just that little half moon underneath the pupil of the eye right there. of the reflection of the
And
snow
maybe just
would give
brightening
the,
the catchlight a little bit.
yeah, it would give the feeling really strong, like you literally are 3 feet away from this guy. And you don't know if they're going to come over and lick your nose or going to bite your ear off. Sometimes love isn't perfect,
Well, this makes me first thing reportage category.
right?
It's like raw, gritty on the street. It almost looks like somebody, I'm looking at, the fingernails that's trying to survive, out on the street, and they've got a pretty rough life. And that this is a story that I'm seeing. They're in need of some love really bad. And that's the cool thing about an image like this. Um, it's not manicured and like the nails and stuff. It's raw, it's gritty, and it has me engaged as the viewer. My brain is filling in the blanks and creating my own story, and everyone is going to have a different story with something like this. So I think from that perspective, this is a really awesome image. Little things. Now, if it's in the reportage, you won't be able to remove like this area, but you can tone it down, darken it down because you're allowed to
Right.
dodge and burn. If it's not in the reportage, you can take it out. But if it's not in the reportage, you could take like that little line out too, up camera left, in that little bright spot. Just little things that are pulling my eye away from the subject, even something dark like that. These are just little things that I would do. But if it's in the reportage, you're left with maybe just darkening down some of these areas. But I think this is a wonderful storytelling image.
Well, that's the beauty of a well done storytelling image is because each viewer is going to have their own version of the story. And that's what makes it, I think, kind of fun is that you've created that suggested uh, feeling, mood, emotion, and the viewer is going to take away with it what they see. And I think that's what's fun about all this. So, Ricky, what do you want to add to that?
Compositionally, I think it's handled well. Obviously, a totally, well, as I see it, totally naturally lit image. There's things that we can and can't do depending, like Kristy said, on in which category it is. But uh, I think the power of this image is in the message and in the story, much more than the technical, because I just feel there's some technical uh, challenges that are present here that, we talked about uh, the blacks uh, in zones in images, and this would be a concern for me as far as the blacks and the whites. And as a matter of fact, as I'm seeing it, I'm getting just kind of a muted or milky look to it. It just doesn't have the snap of a black and white. But again, on the plus side, the story, and I look at those thumbs, and I guess you can kind of spin a story of any image that you see, but uh, I just am wondering, is this a young person on the street? Is his or her thumbs the result of you know holding the crack cocaine, the drugs? And so in that, it's a powerful image. Unfortunately, there's some technical things that are of concern, but hey, there have been Pulitzer uh, photographs that would never make it even close to a merit in PPA standards.
Sweet blooms for breakfast. Christy, what's your take on this one?
Yeah, I was taking in the title, trying to figure out the title, and then I did because I saw the blooms in the bear's mouth. I think the storytelling works. The title works. Sweet blooms for breakfast. The maker's telling us it's in the morning. The bear's eating its breakfast. Where I'm struggling a little bit is with this really dark, charred looking log. It is so dark. it's drawing my eye down, and I'm almost thinking maybe if some of that was cropped off, it wouldn't serve as so much of a distraction um, to take my eye from the bear. And it could, I'm wondering if we straighten the log. Not sure, it could be like a little diagonal line leading us to the bear.
We'll
But I
straighten the
wouldn't do
log
that.
more.
I wouldn't do that because I'm looking at the grass blades and they're straight up and down.
Yeah.
So it just happens to be on a hill or, a little slope and stuff. But I just feel like the logs camera left are just they're thick and they're heavy and they're dark, versus being more on the bear and getting right into the bear and understanding the story, a little bit better.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But what I see when I do that, when I crop, is that all of a sudden now I see this dividing line that's actually
Right.
more attention to me than having the
Yep.
trunk in there. I mean, maybe if it was cropped and left a little bit of, but you're right. You could go in and lighten this. There's nothing to say that this, char of a burned tree could be a light gray, smoky gray, to just take that away from it. I don't mind it down in here. I don't mind this line. It kind of brings us in the tree. It all kind of brings us into the bear. Because I do see what you're saying, but when I cropped it, I just felt like all of a sudden this downed tree looked way more prominent in the scene. But that's why we have different judges. Rick, what can you add to this?
Um, can you zoom in? Do we have any light in the guy's eyes?
Yeah, there is some catch
There
lights.
is some.
Okay.
They could still be lightened just a little bit. I mean, the catch lights are there, but the color of the eyes could be lightened just a hair more that wouldn't hurt. But you can't,
Mhm.
something like this, just from my experience, you can't go too light, otherwise you start getting these
Right.
obviously lightened eyes.
Right. Well, I guess my main concern was the overall flatness of lighting. It just, um, you know, is the time of day the best time of day? And I mean, you can't ask the bear to go out and let's see, four
I'll meet
o'clock,
you back here at 5:30.
4 o'clock, 5:30. But where I'm going with that is then our decision is that the image that we submit.
For fun, take the Dodge tool, which is a no-no to use, by the way, everybody. But um,
I'm all about brightening catch lights if I can.
well, see, there's quite a contrast difference. I mean, this is a huge, but those eyes are so dark and the catch lights are so bright that you'd have to get in there real close like this. I mean, it's 16 and 20, 2000 zoom in, and it really lighten the brown. But you want to do it so that when you pull back, so you zoom in, you do the work, you pull back and look at it full image, so it doesn't look like all of a sudden we got raccoon eyes or something like that happening there. But yeah, those eyes are very dark, and it's just because of to me, it looks like it's probably an overcast day, but it was a bright gray sky. So it's this big, huge softbox overhead. So the little bit of shadowing the eyes are getting is giving us that more of a shadowed look, and then of course the flatter look. This is a tough one. It's a absolutely, I kind of say it. I don't mean this as a derogatory or a joke, but this is a beautiful postcard or a greeting card, a post.
Calendar, absolutely.
Calendar, absolutely. But going into the competition, just those few things that I think, and again, that like Rick talked about the black, the burned, actually all three of us had the burned tree here. It's part of the story, but it's just asking for almost more attention than the bear itself. You might not score very well. Fight for survival. Kristy, what do you think?
I mean, what a great capture. To get the fish, it's flopping around, sharp, the bird's sharp. I bet the maker was just thrilled. I feel like it needs a little bit more breathing room. Camera right, kind of leading into the fish and the bird. I know the maker's probably trying to get us zeroed in on what's going on, but I just feel like a little bit more breathing room leading into the fish's face. And something like we talked about before, one thing the maker could consider, I'm not saying it's do or die, you have to do this, is flipping it. So we've got some negative space, the way our brains are trained to read left to right. We have negative space from the left leading us into the face of the fish and the bird. I think, um, yeah, especially when we flip it, I feel like we need a little bit more breathing room. Camera left versus,
That's true. It does make it feel like you have a little bit more of the edge of the image, or maybe even just out of the edge of the mat that much
yeah, just a little
more.
bit more breathing room. But beyond that, I mean, even the little water droplets, there's something going on. Oh, hang on, my pen's not working.
There's blood droplets happening
Yeah, but
down here.
that doesn't even look natural to
I
me.
don't know what that is. That is interesting.
So, that one looks natural, but whatever that is, I
Yeah,
would maybe take that out.
yeah. And even I know it's all part of a splat or whatever, but I'd probably take that out because we've got water streaks, which makes sense. That's asking for, I'd probably take that out too.
Yeah. And then just this is so minor, you guys. If you could just darken this down just a smidge. That's my word, by the way, smidge, which
Yeah.
means not a lot. But my eye keeps getting pulled to the back of the bird's head because that one little line on its feathers bright. And what's the harm of toning it down a little bit to decrease it as a distraction?
So is a smidge less or more than a skosh?
It's less.
Okay. Just wanted to get that in place.
It's a skosh and a half.
Skosh and a half. Rick, anything else you want to add?
No, I think you've been mean enough, you and Kristy.
Oh, okay.
What a great capture. And
Oh,
once you got the title right, the
okay.
title makes sense.
Christy, there's no points here. You don't get any more points for coming back. The only
Nice
other thing I
try,
would,
Kristy.
yeah,
Nice
nice try
try.
though. I might see
Pardon?
a gradient to just darken the body and the neck here a little bit more,
Oh, that's a good point.
just to bring it just a tiny bit darker all the way across, or maybe even the grass. That would bring a little more attention here, minor thing. And then I'm not sure about the matte and the color. Play with it, it might be fine, but you've got yellowy greens, and this is a cooler green. And it kind of works in some places, but it kind of doesn't in others. So maybe try a different color. I don't know. And then call me and tell me that I was wrong.
They could even take from a darker color from the fish.
Yeah, and they may have because I'm guessing that looks kind of like a blue green gray
Yeah, or
here,
even
so
from
they
the
may have
black
already,
area just to try it too.
yeah. And sometimes black works for a matte. I keep telling people, listen, let's not do matte black, but sometimes it does.
Sometimes it does.
So let's see. So this one, and I get to premise this one because I think this you guys are gonna this is absolutely a lovely, wonderful image. But I'm gonna stumble over this one. This is called the Marsh Watcher. You'll see it.
Ooh.
The Marsh Watcher.
Oh my gosh.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Oh my gosh.
What a phenomenal pencil sketch is what I first see.
Oh, I mean, the composition spot on. Oh my gosh, the background, the bird, the texture, even in the bird's eyes and the feathers. It's like, wow. I only see one little teeny tiny thing.
Yeah.
Right in here, you got some little white blotchy thing going on right there.
But so correcting that, and again, this is something that we're not trying to make any promises, but that little bit would take it from the 99 to 100. Sorry, I had to say that. Look at the
Well,
matte
this little
color.
bit, if somebody points it out, could take it from a 100 to a
Well,
90,
that's true. Yeah, if you don't fix it, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
That is just absolutely stunning. I mean, seriously, that could be a pencil drawing. The colors, the matte, the background. I might, if I was to do anything different, I might brighten up or even add a little more yellowy color to the eye. Tiny bit. Not even necessary, but oh my gosh.
You're talking like saturating a little bit more?
Yeah, maybe that's all.
Yeah.
Exactly. Rick, what can you add to it that's different than what we said? Yeah, exactly.
Perfect profile.
Isn't it?
Beautiful.
Lean into your screens, everybody. Just look at the detail and the feathers and the eyeball. I mean, even in the yellow of the eyeball, you can see just the edge of the iris and the edges of the iris, I should say.
Yeah, I can't, other than that one little spot, this little, it's like a little
Yeah.
blotchy area here. And, I like your idea of, maybe saturating the eyes a little bit. I mean, this is like, I think you're good to go. The presentation works. You're good to go,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
my opinion.
The only other thing is to let me borrow it and let me enter it. Then that would be
Uh,
fine.
And
Then we'd be
just for
there.
the fun of it, and I like it the way it is. Sometimes I don't flip my images because I don't want them to look like everybody else's. But what if you flipped it just to give the maker something
Oh,
to
I
think
knew it. I
about?
slid off the word there. Hold on. Just I let go. I lowered my mouse pointer. I don't know. That's pretty good. Hey, that's pretty good too.
I think both work.
Rick, any thoughts on that?
I'm only leaning towards this one,
I am too.
and I can't explain it if it's because it's
It
the
looks
first one I
different.
saw, but it just
So do the rule, the brain memory rule. Look away, count to three, and come back at this view. Because I like this one.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
might have been stuck because we've been looking at it the other way.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say this is right. I just say, but this to me is even more inviting to the face.
Right.
They're both fabulous.
I think either way, but if you think about the way our brains are, reading left to right, you're coming in from the left, going right into the bird's face.
I kind of think if this were my image, and maybe you'll have to tell me what price that would be. Um, I think I'd probably do this myself. But hey, that's just me. What do I know?
we keep talking about looking in from left to right, because we're in, the Western Hemisphere. What's wrong with that? I mean, that's the way we look at things. And then the argument, well, with World Cup and this and that. Well, um,
World Cup, you're perfect going the other way because other countries read the opposite than us.
yeah, well, they're wrong.
Oh man, that's too funny.
But I don't think it's make or break which way it's
No,
flipped.
no, I
Right.
think I think you've got a winner either way here.
Yep.
See, this is the thing about we sit here all every month all year, then we get to our state competition, and I think, oh crap, I got nothing to compete. Windmill at sunset.
Can you say the title again?
Sure. Windmill at sunset.
Beautiful lighting.
Hmm.
And just gorgeous lighting. I'm gonna pick on the title again. Windmill at Sunset does not set up a story for me. Um, Other than I know it's towards the end of the day, but it could be something like, I don't know, doing my job or a place and time, a time gone by, something like that. Just if the title can set up some kind of an emotion, I think it gives it that much more impact, and you've got this impact with the lighting. I think it's a beautiful exposure going on. Um, I just want to make sure you guys have heard me say this. I'm a stickler for fringing chromatic aberration. So I'm looking between the house and the windmill. There might be a little bit of fringing going on, and camera left too over some of the brown grass. And that's something that judges do look for
Yeah.
in there. I don't know what to make of the trees because the trees have gone blue. And maybe you guys can explain that, but I don't know why the branches are blue.
Current popular techniques that I'm seeing in a lot of videos online are color grading. And they're taking the tones and just shifting them enough so that they're artsy, but they're different. So I don't know if this is a color overlay, a color gradient overlay to get the trees that blue, but I'm guessing that the color, because if you look at the building itself, there's blue in the white awning. I mean, sorry, the eave and the posts. So there's been some color correction. So it's not bad. I like the oranges and the yellows, the kind of the complementary um, tones here. But yes, because it starts making the trees look not, I don't want to say not right, but because it pulls your attention up there and it's not just, oh, that's artsy, it's different, I like it. It doesn't look like it's supposed to be. I don't know if I can explain anymore, but it's also becoming quite again, if you sit and watch a lot of videos, I probably look at too many. The color grading that they're doing a lot does these kind of things. And I think about that as, oh, that would never do well in competition.
I think it's a really cool concept. My concern is, would judges go for that?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going because it is a new concept. I like it. I like the color harmony, the whole
I do
thing. But yes,
too.
because of and I hate to use the word more narrow, but yeah, PPA judging is a little bit more narrow. It might not score well if this was in some other the competition I shared with you earlier, the link in the text box, it might work in that because that's a worldwide non-PPA rule concept kind of thing. So there's the difference, and you don't know till you try it. But to make a poster of this or to hang it as a large print, how cool that would be. Love the colors.
I
Hey,
could see it like a metallic.
yeah, there you go. Exactly.
You know what? I want to add a point or two to this image. I don't know if there's room on the file, but if we have more room to camera right, to include a little bit more of the house, still have the really nice framing with the trees, then we would have a real nice L composition.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
So you're taking the windmill just a little off center.
Actually, I'm leaving it there, but if we have more room on the file to include more of the house and we're talking about titles, Christy, and I'm thinking homestead. Now let's address the color shift. I think it's cool.
Oh, I
Um,
do too.
and if I were on a panel, I'd fight for it,
Would
to
you? Okay.
support it. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah,
It,
I think this is a gorgeous image.
I would have called it Pikes Peak and stuff.
And stuff.
Yeah.
Hey,
Steeves.
great feedback throughout this evening. Sorry, I was got
Oh,
back from
awesome.
lab this afternoon, so I came in a little bit late, but this last 45 minutes or whatever that I've been in, this is fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Hey,
Chrissy,
Christy, I have a
that's our past president, Michael Rhino, and he's so well versed. So that was good stuff.
I don't know about well versed, but
Oh, come on.
I just wanted to ask if I could too. It's been interesting watching how much of a subject to have in the frame. Because sometimes, like the profile of the bird was amazing. And sometimes depending on the animal or what the subject is, some people react very well to that and others say, well, I really want to see more of what the subject is. So do you have a sense of what you see most often that's successful around that?
Kathy, I think it varies with every photographer and with what they want the viewer to experience. Um, I don't think there's any formula, so to speak, to say, well, this kind of a bird would look best in this kind of a composition. And if we did have a formula, then aren't we taking that spirit of artistry away from every maker? And I alluded to it earlier on about playing it safe, and you know why not put something in that's totally out of our comfort zone and let it land where it lands, and learn from it. But at least it has been the expression of what you want to present to the viewer and to the those that are evaluating it.
Makes good sense.
Anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Can I add to that? And it's not to toot my horn, but through my experience, I have a story to share based on what Rick just said. Last year, I photographed an animal and I went really tight on this animal, and it was very different from anything else I'd seen. And all I kept thinking was the judges are going to think the maker's on drugs. It did so well for me in competition. Went imaging excellence, did well in IPC, went on to ASB to get the gold medallion. I mean, I thought it wasn't going to merit.
No kidding. That's cool.
But I stepped so out of my comfort zone. And I remember even thinking, and I've never had this thought before. I'm the maker. I can do what I want. This makes me happy. I'm going to come out of my comfort zone and let the chips fall where they may. It's either going to do okay or it's going to bomb. And man, was I surprised where it took me. And that was a huge learning experience for me, that sometimes we have to step out of our comfort zone and really try to embrace not the photographer, the artist in us. And
Hey,
it could bomb, but I know I tried and look what happened.
Right.
Well,
So
let
I
me,
love like what Rick did with the fox. You know,
Mhm.
I'm looking at it from a photographer's point of view. Oh yeah, that works. And he's like, "Well, come in." And all of a sudden it was like, "Whoa!" It just changed
yeah.
everything on that fox and gave it more impact just by trying something different.
hey,
Great. Thank you.
Kristy, real quick, if I can speak, thank you
Yeah.
so much for those comments because I can completely relate to what you just said. Is that sometimes you get out of your comfort zone, you do a few different things with post processing or however you crop the image or whatever in that. And first of all, congratulations on the gold medallion that
Thank
you
you.
received. And so interestingly, not to go on that about that, but this year I did the same thing. As I took an image, went through some things that I had learned, completely different than I had ever done before, and lo and behold, it got the gold medallion at this year's ASP thing. And the image that you guys just reviewed, that last one with the windmill, same exact thing. That was I appreciate all the comments about I will go take a look at the blues and the branches and so forth. But these are it's programs like this that I learn so much from and pulls me out of my comfort zone. And every once in a while, you come up with something that sort of works. So thank you for your comments, Kristy.
You're welcome, and congratulations to you.
Well, thank you. But I didn't mean to bring it up in that way. But um,
No, but it just shows
other
sometimes if you
than
just push, you
other
don't know
than
where it's going to take you.
Yeah, yeah, and to be honest, that image that was the ASP one, I had that one in this very program, probably 10 months ago or something like that. Got some feedback from Jeff, Rick, and the other judge that they had on here, the other commentator, and made those changes. And I believe that it's programs like this right here that have helped me bring a couple of my images to that next level. So
That's cool.
you,
Well,
Thanks.
yeah,
Jeff and Rick and others for all of that.
it's having other people, we get so close to our own work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, before I enter, sometimes I'll just enter images, but sometimes um I'll call somebody up and say, "Hey, can I email this to you to look at?" And they're gonna see something they didn't see, and they're like, "I'd fix this." Oh, okay, I didn't even see it. And then once you see it, you can't unsee it. So that's the great part about doing what you guys are doing in Colorado is, especially bringing three, different people with opinions in, because of the feedback that you're getting, you can, make changes and, you know, take your images and soar with them. I think this is a great program, what you guys are doing.
Well, thank
Right.
you.
Thank
Well,
you.
that's cool because we're trying to spread it out and we're checking, we've worked with the Washington group and we've got a New York or a Connecticut group we're working with in California and just trying to offer this service for a lot of different groups. And also we're hitting a lot of the camera clubs and the non-PPA things, people who are seeing this as something totally different than they've ever been involved in. So it's working real well for us. And I'm glad, a lot of you guys that are listening to us tonight have seen many shows, and I can't thank you enough for spending the time. And I know we're going on long, and I'm sorry, I got four more images, so you found them all. So
But
let
we're
me,
having so much
well,
fun.
I'm having fun. I know Rick's having fun. We know we're going to go to bed. We can sleep in the morning, so the heck with the rest
Me
of you.
too.
This is called Christmas at the Zoo. Christy, go ahead. What do you think?
Oh, I love twinkly lights, so this is speaking. I what I really like is my eye went probably where the maker wanted me to go. I went right to the zebras. It's the brightest part of the image. Nice job, rule of thirds. I like the reflection, on in the foreground, leading me up to the zebras. I think the maker has a really nice exposure with all the lights going on. I'm struggling to, you know, maybe the key line. I'm struggling to find something to pick on. Not that we want to pick, but when we pick, it helps you guys.
Right,
Um,
right.
that's more of what it is, why we pick. It's just to help you guys. The only thing for me is hang on, let me click on my pen. And this is so minor, and the Jeff and Rick might totally disagree with me. Right in here, just that pole going up. For some reason, that's kind of bugging me and pulling my eye right there. Maybe just because it's, piercing into the tree. I don't know. It's not a big deal. I don't think anybody's going to pick on that except for me. But I think this is nicely done. I'm wondering if the maker had taken a little bit step far closer or stood on their tippy toes. So we don't have the fence line right where our main subject is. To kind of think about what's in the foreground. And the fence doesn't bother me per se, but these two, really dark fences kind of almost getting in the way of the zebras. Getting up on the tippy toe or leaning as close as you can to the fence to get some of that out of there would be my suggestion.
Just to even lower the post a little bit below the light.
Yeah, I'd bring a saw with you next time and saw it off.
I've always got one in my truck, so.
Yeah, nothing like a little vandalism, right?
Rick, what can you add?
I think it's gorgeous. Love the colors.
I do too. I can appreciate the fact that we put that foreground in there with the posts. Unfortunately for me, they take up so much of the real estate of the entire image, and they're so soft compared to all that really sharp, stark brilliance of the lights and the figures in the park, I guess it is. Um, I just feel that we'd have been better off just coming on the other side of the posts and
Right.
photographing into the subject, because they're so out of focus and command so much of the image, probably close to a third of the image. And there's so much brilliance and beauty, in everything else that's on the other side. That was my concern.
Yeah, everything. I agree with everything you guys have said. It's such a wonderful capture, and sometimes it's hard with all these different lights. You get different luminosity values, and you get some blown out and some not. This is great. If you're 6 foot tall, you probably wouldn't have had this problem. No. Yeah, I think these fences are just asking for just enough attention. So to the left, not so bad, but these posts right in front. But man, what a great look how soft the light is on the tree, the red light on the trees to the right, and how well it's captured. Just really good job on this whole thing. Again, not that I'm degrading it, I don't mean it that way, but what a wonderful postcard, Christmas card. People go nuts over this and put in a Christmas card. I bet you could sell the heck out of this to your friends. Jerry, a barn portrait. So sorry, Dave, if I butchered that one, but if there's a different title, let us know. Anyways, Rick, you jump on this one. This is cool.
Well, I'd love to, but I've lost everything. Go ahead and you guys, let me see if I can get it back.
Well, just real quick, from my view, I mean, what a very striking character study of this gentleman. Probably, I'm guessing, just natural light. If not, the strobe was used phenomenally well. But look at the nice wraparound light detail to highlight the shadow side of the face. It's really the eyes. Now the eyes have a sparkle. I'm going to just enlarge it and look at it. Sometimes little practices that we used to do. I don't know if they're really doing it that much. I haven't entered portraits for so long as we would go in and soften those and make it look more like almost like a big softbox, not overpower it, but make it just because it's a very defined edge. This little twinkle right here on the edge of his eye, probably a little piece of moisture. And then a lot of times we'll even get rid of that second catch light. If that's your fill light, if you've used a fill, you can get rid of that because you've got enough luminosity in the rest of the eyeball. The colors shows up fine that you don't need that little catch light. So a lot of times in portrait work, we want to have one nice, realistic, beautiful catch light. But look at the detail back in here in the shadows and the highlights. I mean, this is just great pose and the nice lean, the strong, the look off into the distance. I first looked, I see the hats in the background. I know it's part of the story. They're asking for a little attention. Not bad, questionable. His hat goes awfully dark. So maybe if there was a little bit more detail in the black, I know it's a black cloth hat, it's going to suck the light up like a sponge. But maybe if there was just a little bit more of it, like we've got a nice highlighter along here and around the edge here, you can add those. And maybe if there was a stronger highlight here, these looks like you'd probably tone these down, but they're just asking for a little attention, so it's competing. If they weren't there, I think they'd be even better. And then even little things like the red, if I don't know if it's a blanket, a saddle blanket or something, that little red. But other than that, even this little sparkle on a belt. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Hit the freewheel here, flywheel. Um, Kristy, what you think?
Yeah, I agree with everything that you say. One thing that I could add is I will go in and tone down parts of people's clothing that are highly reflective. So like this area right in here is really bright.
Yeah.
And it's really, especially with being close to him, it's really calling attention, away from his face. So little things like that could be darkened down, just like Jeff was saying, tone down some of these other little areas and, maybe the hats as well. Same thing with some of the bright areas. I do think that the hats create a distraction. If those weren't there, the attention really is on him. But like Jeff said, maybe toning down some of these bright areas here. This area here, if it had a little bit more shadow, you're going to get a little bit more sculpting and dimension on him. And by the way, if you guys have me back and I do an editing program, I would show you what I do
Cool.
in
Good.
terms of adding shadow, adding light. But I feel like if there was a little bit more shadow right in that area, that would be sensational. But that's something that is easily doable too, to add that shadow.
I was told that the title of this one is Wrangler. Rick, anything more you want to add?
No, and
Oh,
you got
ooh, Wrangler, not much of a title. What about his horse died and he's mourning the loss of his pet? There you've got emotion, and there you're just creating some impact. I don't know what the title would be, but sorry, it just hit me and I got excited to share that.
I could tell. And I'm
Yeah,
glad because that's what we try and do is we want to create that excitement. Because I mean, ideally, when an image comes up, we want to hear all five judges kind of either adjust, like we used to say when it was a panel of five sitting shoulder to shoulder and you couldn't move. We wanted them to all of a sudden move in their chair and lean forward and go, "Oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah, that's when it's a good title." So Wrangler says what he is. We can see that, but
like mourning my partner.
well, again, take it. Yeah, again, I've been doing this. Take this into Chat GPT and kind of describe it. Elderly gentleman, cowboy, wrangler, and just kind of see what you come up with. It'll come up with some cool stories that it does come up with longer. You have to almost tell it to give me only like 3 word titles, but nevertheless, um, I think it's well done. And the maker is telling me that it was done with the fill light as a strobe on the right, handled very well. I mean.
Yep, it's
I
gorgeous.
think going a little darker, I agree, would be a little bit more passionate, but man, fantastic job on handling, balancing the strobe with the light. Synchro sun, right, Rick?
yes, indeed.
This is called suspended illumination. Rick, what do you think?
Well, the depth of field for me is a concern. The title again, Jeffy, was suspended
Suspended illumination.
illumination, okay, which suggests that the subjects are the bulbs and the lighting, which we have no focus on. So I'm wondering, well, okay, I'm just not able to appreciate the image for what it is. And as you brought it in from the left, that took out that top left corner that was bright.
I'm just playing.
Oh, he's doing a Jeff Johnson
I'm doing a Jeff Johnson. I'm bringing this cable in from the top, and then maybe we can bring this up a little bit. I like the coming down here, but we've got the repetition of the bulb shapes. We've got the line coming in, and I don't know, there's a lot of black back there. Does that bother you, Rick?
Excuse me. Not necessarily. It's supposed to be, as I see it, a fine art image. So I really don't have much problem with that. I would take care of the, bottom left, those little dots.
Yeah, that was just me in the cropping. Get those out of there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, just a thought. Let's go back to here's the full image, and then here's my cropped suggestion. It just kind of brings
I
us
like the original myself, just because you're getting more of a scene of what's there.
okay, that's kind of what I was going to say too, is that even though it brings us into the bulbs more, this gives us more of a feeling of location and
Yeah, but I would definitely take out this top left
yeah.
highlight.
And then probably even up I think these guys right here I'd probably lose as well, but I don't know honestly if it would be a high scoring image in a competition. Again, it's a cool fine art piece. It would make it a very interesting again, the greeting card or that kind of a Western themed poster, add a sepia tone, brown tone to it, but cool idea.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's more changing the settings and getting more of the bulbs in focus, I think.
Well, see,
right.
I don't
But
now, and this is just me. I don't mind these bulbs being out of focus because here's our focal point.
right?
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, so these guys are soft back here. This one, these are the sharper ones. This one's soft. So it's saying, look right here. Here's what I want you to look at. These are supporting shapes and patterns and tones for the story. So I don't mind that these are out of focus. They're not big blobs of blur. If the bulb was this size out of focus, that different story. But at least that's how I see it. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Right. While you're doing that, I want to let everybody know, do you guys know that Rick Avalos was my judging school instructor? And I was so intimidated being around him for years. And now I'm not. That means I got more confidence. Yay!
We're still intimidated by Rick, so we get it.
You know, they're instructors, judges. Oh my gosh. So, but Rick actually gave me a lot of guidance that I sought out. He was very kind and patient and helped me as I was working through trying to become an approved judge.
Well,
I'm
thank you
sure you
for the
guys all
kind
know he's a
words,
very
Chris.
kind, patient person.
Well, I appreciate your kind words.
You need to get a host that knows what they're doing. Here we go. I'm so sorry. Prehistoric Reflections.
That title is really unique.
It is unique.
Yeah, I've never
It
heard
gives
anybody come
you,
up with that.
yeah, it gives you kind of a time frame or a sense of this rock formation has been around for a while. Well, it could be a lot of places but I'll tell you it's Colorado, I'm sure.
Is it? Okay.
That's what Colorado is from. Anything west of us is this way, so pretty much. I think this is just a splendid capture. What a great story. The title again really tells a good story. Kind of I'd say, kind of a challenge for exposure because you've got some very dark rocks, deep tones, but there's detail in them. These uh, fanials, these slopes get bright, but that's handled very well. I like the placement of the top of the rocks coming from pretty high in the scene, so our clouds are there, but they're not taking over. Nice subtle reflection. So it gives us a reflection, but it doesn't take over. And that little bit of base of the land is done very nicely. Um, I don't even mind the matte color. It's maybe not something I think I would have gone for a burgundy. It's what it looks like, at least on my screen. Is if it's supposed to be
It
a
looks brown to me.
brown, okay, then that's the difference between screens because I actually have no, it's funny. I have two big screens. If I lean over and get right in front of it, I can see it is definitely brown. So sorry about that, maker. I think maybe we could use a little bit less border, tiny bit,
That's what
like
I think
just
too.
maybe to right here. Um, again, we're splitting hairs, but if the border, the print, the image itself went to this far out, um, it would play this down just a little bit. Anyways, Christy, what do you think?
So are you telling them that their whole presentation should be that thin?
I'm saying, yeah, a little less on the border.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like it's a little thick,
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. Oh no,
Uh,
I'm saying the presentation should be this much. Just move this edge out to here.
yeah, I'm thinking, oh, I gotta keep clicking my pen. Maybe
Right.
even something like this. Just trim off a little bit. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, same idea.
Wee, look at I'm not very good at drawing straight lines.
No, that was pretty good actually, the top one there. Oh, that's not so good there though.
No, but I just yeah, I think it should be brought in, a little bit. But no, I can't see anything that I think that can be fixed or enhanced. I don't see any fringing, by the mountains. They've done a really good job with this. I agree with, what you're saying. I think some of these mountain ridges are, go a little bit dark. But it's a somewhat overcast day too, so it's not like you're going to get light on the
Right,
bushes
right.
and stuff like that. So no, I think they've done a great job. My big thing is just maybe bringing in, whether it's, thin or here, I would trim off some of the mat.
Yeah.
Want to ask you guys a question. How do you feel about the time of day this was taken?
Well, again, I'm feeling confident it's pretty much a very overcast day. I mean, obviously we have some punch in the clouds here, but um, pretty overcast. So it's going to be not and again, I think that it's not so much the time of day as it is the color temperature of the light early morning and late afternoon that gives the land a little bit more passion, a little bit more feeling. So yes, this does kind of feel more like a colder middle day light. I've had images that I've done something. I'm only there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a cool scene, but the light isn't right. I mean, I'll drop in Photoshop an orange overlay, take an orange, just an or a yellow or a gold or something, and drop it over, then change the like a overlay or something like soft light, and take it way down. So you're just bringing in a little bit of that warmth that we'd like to see more. It doesn't always work, but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Well, I guess where I'm going with that is I think it's a beautiful scene. I think all of the colors have been rendered well from the warms to the cools. My thinking is how do we get this image from an MIR to an image of excellence? Um, so that's what I'm thinking. And and like you guys were mentioning, it's an overcast day. So that would explain why there's a little bit of flatness to the image as I see it.
I think we've covered everybody's images. I have Michael's asking me about one more, but I think I already did it, Michael. It was the black and white of the girl. Yeah, we did that early on. She was
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I came in late. I apologize.
right, right.
I will go back and take a look. Thank you.
And if guys, if we got everybody's, if we haven't, if you discover that we didn't do it, we will certainly throw it into the show next time or do something help you out. However, without obviously no more charge or anything like that. So sorry about that if we missed it. But I'm going to just officially say, Rick, is it okay if I make an official statement? Noon of show day is our deadline. I will just say thank you, everybody, for sticking with us because I mean we still got a really good crowd on hand, and that's cool. That says something, Ricky, that we're doing something right here.
And I can't thank you enough, Kristy, man. You're coming up to the midnight hour there pretty quick. And
I'm glad I took a nap earlier just for
So
this
are we.
reason.
So
So
are
it's
we.
given me more energy.
yeah.
Hey, Kristy, I have a trivia question for you.
Uh-oh, I'll probably fail it.
What town in America has, in the middle of a town, has a monument to a pest?
To a pest?
Oh, I know this one.
Oh, you should know this. To a pest, yeah.
Isn't
Like
it
a
a
mouse?
cockroach?
No, it was a town right next to you. Enterprise, Alabama, downtown has a monument to the boll weevil right in
boll
the center
weevil.
of town.
Ah,
Yes.
I lived there so long ago, I wouldn't remember.
It's a tourist thing. You wouldn't know that anymore, right?
Yeah.
See, I told you I'd flunk it.
Anyways, guys, you know that this is so much fun for us. I know Rick and I talk all the time about how exciting it is for us to be able to put this kind of stuff out for you. And like I said, we've got some really cool things for you with you in mind to help learn, but also to get you even more involved if you want. So stay tuned for that. I can't wait to share some of the stuff with you. Rick, what else do you think? I'll just say thanks, everybody. We love you all for coming and hanging out with us and listening to us over and over again. So that's so cool. Thank you. Ricky, what do you want to say?
I just want to say that the next time Kristy joins us, I hope she finds a way to come out of her shell.
Oh, you guys.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Love having you here, Kristy. Thank you so much, dear.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
And thank you, Jeff, Rick, and Kristy, Jeff and Rick, for all that you guys do with this. The program is always so good. I've learned so much, and like I said earlier, in that some of my images have improved subsequent to hearing your comments in that. So really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, thanks everybody for supporting us, and
Thank you for watching the Image Critique Show with Jeff Johnson and Rick Avalos. Learn more by checking them out at theimagecritiqueshow.com.